All right, what's up, guys? Hope you are doing well. We were actually going to do a whole first podcast back with Aizec and I, but he actually ended up getting really sick with the flu right before we were going to record. We were going to save this pre-recorded episode for next week, but we didn't want to wait, so we'll be back next week where we're talking about all of the latest paddles that have been coming out, but Aizec's got to get better first. So anyways, enjoy this episode with Zane Navratil.
What's up, guys? We got a special episode of the pod. We have a guest that hasn't been on the podcast in like 3 years. He actually might have been the first guest on the pod, and it might be the single person I hate the most in pickleball, who also hates me. That's Zane Navratil.
Oh, yeah, the feeling is mutual. I can't believe I'm even here.
I can't believe I let you in my house. I think this might be a security risk.
100%. Yeah, this is going to go south real quick, I get the feeling.
I think we're just going to kick it off with this. Do you know how many DMs, emails, and texts I get of people every time you make a video? Every single time I get a text that goes, why does he hate you? Does he actually hate you? Like, what did you do to Zane? And I'm like, I just shake my head every time. I'm like, I don't even know how to explain this to you.
I mean, the thing is, you're just so easy to troll. Like, it's just like every single video, I'm like, oh, could Chris do this? No, he probably couldn't. Let's point it out.
But you know what's funny? I was trying to think back on this. I was trying to think as far back as I could. When did this start? Because I can't even remember where or when or why.
I feel like it could have started with like the pickle pod somehow.
Oh, sure.
I have no idea. And then it just obviously is like, you know, taking a whole nother level.
You know, someone sent me the pickle pod recently. I think maybe it was the first one with Nico. You guys were talking about paddle reviewers, and I came up. I laughed so hard when you were like, yeah, just call me back when this topic's over. And you literally didn't come back into the segment.
No, it's fun. I mean, like, I only rip on the people that like I'm closest with. So it's like, it's just fun. You've always been a great sport about it. We're actually great buddies, everybody. I am going to continue to pretend to hate Chris. So, but it's a bit.
No, I think it's so funny. Like, I've just stopped trying to explain it to people because I'm like, it's almost funnier that way.
100%.
But I'm like, I'm sure if you're on the outside, you're just like, dude, he's literally in every video.
Like, I think you're in like 90% of my videos at this point.
It's so funny. So I figured we had to open with that because I was like, man, like everyone's going to ask about this.
Oh yeah, and you're definitely going to be in this week's video after the pro qualifiers.
Oh no. What's your video this week?
Just a recap of the PGA Minnesota.
Great. When I saw I was out at the Masters and somebody was like, so why aren't you playing the qualifier in Minnesota? Your brother is. And I was like, my brother is? What are you talking about? I was like, no, he's not. And they pulled it up and showed me, look, his name's on here. And I was like, he's getting smoked. And
hey, I did better than a lot of people in the qualifier. Let's just 5 and 6.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, all right, that's not too bad.
Now, granted, were we playing some people that were, you know, probably around 5-0s? Maybe a little better? Yes. Was it a 6-0? No.
0-1 is 0-1.
Hey, I'll take it. As fine. I knew going in I was getting mopped. I just did it because I got asked and it was in the hometown. There's no way I'd travel on a Monday and play one of those.
Fair.
There's no way. But dude, how have you been?
Good, man. Let's see. Yeah, this was 3 years ago since the last pod, since we last even spoke. No, things are good. Obviously, you know, you see I'm doing a lot more in the way of content, enjoying that. And I told you I had some spicy takes about paddle reviewers, you know, all the things going on in the industry. So now is as good of a time as ever to do our 3-year reunion.
But give us some of your hot takes. Let's hear some of these.
Well, where do we start? All right, I've got it. We'll start here. I think Gabe Tardio just cooked American paddle manufacturers. So we've already seen what they're calling like a counterfeit paddle epidemic, right? And what a counterfeit paddle epidemic means, I think, is a value epidemic, really, right? Like, you're not going to go buy something for $30 when the competitor is $300 if the $300 is really worth the price tag, right? So I think Gabe signing with Faculos does a few different things. First off, it shows several of these Asian brands. We have Mihao, we have Li Ning, we had Aranax, Iro, or something like that. All of these companies just got UPA-A approval at the pro game, which means 100% they're eyeing signing pros to use their paddle. Faculos just bought immediate legitimacy in the States. Never saw a Faculos paddle here before. Gabe. It'll be interesting to see how many we see now, but they do have like market legitimacy, and I think that these other companies are going to do the same exact thing. And so,
I mean, Luz is doing that.
yeah, Luz is a perfect example. And so I think when these companies have their pro players, they already have, they're in the same spot as their manufacturing, right? Like they have the Chinese relationships that we in the States are managing from afar with corporate overhead here in the States. I don't think the US companies are ever going to be able to compete on price with the Chinese companies, right? Or just Southeast Asian companies in general, right? And so I think they're going to come in with a product that's almost as good, possibly better, possibly equal, right? But they're going to be able to undercut the price. And in other industries, this happens in every American industry, basically, right? In other industries, the way that you deal with this as an American company is you bring R&D back to the States and you don't teach the people who are actually manufacturing how to do it, right? Or you've built such a big moat around your branding and marketing that if you're buying a brand, you're not buying the actual piece of equipment. I don't think the US companies have built the brand to a point yet, and I don't know if it makes financial sense for them to bring manufacturing or R&D back. So I'd be surprised if we don't see paddles come way down in price to like a reasonable level, and then B, I think a lot of consolidation within like American brands, if you can, I guess, even call them that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go first, and then you can give your take, Aizec. So I think what's interesting about this is, one, I think with these brands in Asia, like I don't think that Faculos is gonna undercut the US brands that much. I mean, you already have Luz, who's like kind of doing that. Like their Luz Cannon is essentially a Yola Pro 4, and it's $100. People are still buying the Pro 4 because, you know, Yola and all the sponsors and yada, yada, yada. And maybe that'll start to shift. But I think even if you undercut a good amount, that almost, sometimes that can almost even hurt you. Like people look at like a Luz Cannon, some people, and will go, oh, well, it's cheaper. Like something's got to be worse, right? Like I think a lot of people don't realize that like cheap, and this is one of the things I was going to cover later, but like cheap brands and expensive brands, like a lot of times the difference is very small in terms of the actual technology being used. Yeah. And I just don't think like someone like Faculos or Luz is really going to damage the market that much. I do think, and this is a topic we are going to cover at some point on the pod, like these counterfeits, I think will have and are having an impact on the industry because people they're fed up with like $300 paddles, $280 paddles, and they core crush. It's like, why wouldn't I just go buy the cheaper one? And while I think supporting counterfeits definitely has impacts on the industry that long-term people won't want, like it potentially wipes out more brands or they invest less in the sport. Maybe Pro Tour starts to vanish because you don't have manufacturers investing in players, and like it's like a cascading effect, right?
Sure.
But I also understand why people are buying these paddles, even if there's a bit of damage to the sport. What I think confuses me sometimes is I go, there's a good cheap alternative to almost every popular paddle that is approved and supports the sport. So I'm like, I don't know why we wouldn't just buy that. Like,
sure,
Ronbus, Vatic, Friday, Luz.
Yeah.
Like, why buy the $30 one? I mean, it is cheaper, but
right. Yeah, and so I that's where I do think that these Asian brands are going to come in the middle, right? I agree. There's a perceived value of sometimes some of these paddles are Giffen goods, and that demand goes up as the price goes up.
Yeah,
it doesn't follow a normal demand curve because there's perceived value of it's $300. It's got to be the best. But I mean, people have got to be catching on to the fact that these are within 10-15% variance over time, right? How many
You'd
times?
be surprised.
Yeah, but do you think they're feeding on new people every time, or do you think you have a tremendous amount of repeat customers buying, 10?
I mean, a lot of them. If you think back to like the story when we were eating a minute ago, Sarah, Chris's wife, was saying that that guy who's a coach kind of pushing paddles on people, new people, that happens constantly.
Yeah.
Where they're just pushing these expensive paddles that people probably shouldn't have, and they just don't know any better. And
also
they find out later.
Way bigger pool of people.
Yeah.
Right. But there's more like uneducated people casually playing than there are like
Exactly.
tournament players who kind of know better.
The enthusiast group of people buying paddles that like are in the sport and kind of know the technologies is really a small consolidated group of people versus the masses. That's why like Selkirk does so many sales. They're not actually selling boomsticks, Luxes, or Power Airs. They're selling these really cheap Amazon sets, or they're selling them at Costco, and people are buying those, and you just see the name Selkirk everywhere. So while I do agree with you, I think the Chinese brands are going to come in and probably kill a lot of brands. The big brands like Selkirk are now just a staple name in pickleball. I think they'll always be around.
Fair. So you think there's a Yola and Selkirk moat, at least in the brand right now?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Other than that, right? So I would agree with you. I don't think that Yola and Selkirk were the ones that I was classifying.
And then
there.
maybe like I think I'd probably fit in Carbon in there. They're like just big enough and pretty well-known name in pickleball.
What about Legacy, like Engage, PaddleTech?
Those ones, unless PaddleTech is doing some interesting stuff. I mean, you probably know a lot more than I do. You're signed with them, but Engage, it's not looking good for them.
No,
I mean,
Yeah,
they
you know,
haven't done
a
anything
lot.
in a long time. That's a brand that I'm not obviously banking on, but I've been kind of thinking like if an American manufacturing brand is going to go, they're going to be one of the first.
I mean, even them,
Interesting.
they're doing stuff overseas now, which I don't fault anyone for doing that. That's where like the best performance paddles are coming. They have to if they want to stay alive. But Engage has also just been behind on every time they've done a Chinese style paddle.
And
But
it's expensive.
and it's expensive. But like one of the things that I feel like I would like maybe push back on like the argument you're making is I feel like the brands, there's already been so many budget and mid-tier brands that have been really good. Maybe they've been, more enthusiast brands like 11624, which now has Decal, Honolulu, Vatic, Rhombus, Pickleball Apes, Thrive, like all these companies. Basically the mid-tier market with elite paddles has already existed the entire time. And I still feel like, I'm sure it's done a damage to a Selkirk and a Yola, but it clearly hasn't made the entire market go, you know what, like these paddles should be $150.
Sure, but back to Aizec's point, right? Like, I think we're seeing people transition from people are buying their second and third paddles right now. We had the boom, right, where people are picking up their Selkirk Amazon paddle, or their Club Pro sells you that thing. These people are a little bit more educated now, right? They're either sticking with whatever they already bought, or they're going into that more enthusiast market and buying a handful more paddles. Like once you're a little bit more educated, I don't think you stick with your $300 paddle for that long. When you can if you can understand the trade-off, and that there are some good ones that are coming in.
Or a lot of times what happens is these small enthusiast brands, Vatic 11.6, are not going to be the second or third paddle people buy, because you buy the cheap Amazon or Costco set, then you kind of get into pickleball, you get hooked, then you start seeing pros, and then you just go, well, what they use is what I'm going to buy. Then after that, you spend a ton of money on it. Then you look at like, oh, well, these enthusiast brands are making similar things. That's like, I feel like that's like the third or fourth paddle.
Maybe. I think it just depends like on the demographic, like older versus younger. Younger is probably a little bit more likely to stumble across like a Vatic, less spending power. Like you're trying to make sure every dollar you spend like matters.
We're
a
just
little
doing more research.
Yeah, doing more research. But I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I feel like I had one other point about some paddles I wanted to make related, and now I'm completely spacing on it. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But like also, you look at a Gabe with Pickle, dude was not moving paddles. I mean, the only place I really see pickles are here in Minnesota because the company is from here. And so like maybe Gabe will bring some into the States, but like he didn't really do it for Pickle. So I'm curious if he can do it for
But also, I
Valkylos.
think these Asian brands just have so much more money to start signing pros. I think we're going to really start to see them eat up a lot of players and just start signing a ton of people. I mean, we already see Caitlin Christian and Chris Hayworth sign with Luz. We know Valkylos is going to be signing more people. I feel like they're going to sign a lot more. Like it's going to be Yola and then all these Asian brands.
You've got to buy a little bit of legitimacy, right? You come in here and you have no like how would anybody hear about them unless they're throwing tons of dollars in marketing or their paddle really slaps?
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I think it's a relatively easy way to get in.
Yeah,
still,
definitely.
and, yeah.
But I wonder at what point, because I feel like this is also like a little history lesson that seems to repeat itself in pickleball. So Selkirk, a couple years back, they scoop up all these pros, scoop them up cheap, and now they're like, you know what? Doesn't seem like it was doing much for us. Like, we're going to get rid of them. And we've seen that with like a number of companies where they had a lot of pros and then they kind of scale back because like, it didn't seem like it was actually doing much for us. And like, I'm sure Yola, they started a similar approach. Like, let's scoop everyone up cheap and then we'll dump whoever didn't work. And I'm curious, come a couple years, if they thin their pro roster a lot or if they kind of keep it where it is. But now we've got brands like 11-6-24, Friday, and some other brands, Luz, creeping in where they're like, let's dabble with this.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they're going to learn the same lesson eventually, which is it got us to another level, but at some point this caps out and we don't need to spend all this money on these guys.
Yeah, I've never ever understood having a huge pro roster. I completely understand having a couple, right? But there's clear and obvious diminishing returns to multiple pros, right? So let's say you are, Yola right now. What does signing, let's pick an arbitrary pro. What would signing Caitlin Christian in the offseason do for them?
Yeah.
Like, what incremental amount of paddles is she going to move? Gabe takes Faculos from moving 0 paddles to something far more than 0, right? Like, maybe the ROI is there, maybe it's not. We don't know what he's paid, all that stuff. But it's the incremental pros on a huge roster already that have never made sense to me. And I think the biggest culprits over the past few years have been Yola and Selkirk. And we've seen waves of Selkirk doing this, right? In 2020 and before, they had most of the pros. 2020, they dump everybody. 2021, you got the signed graphics. They sign everybody again. Now, dumping everybody again. Like, it just...
But you got to imagine it had to have had at least a pretty decent benefit for Yola signing a bunch of players, I think for a few reasons. And I think it's different with Yola versus Selkirk. Even though they both did the same thing, I think it was much more beneficial for Yola than Selkirk because Yola came out with new tech pretty quickly and came out with something really good pretty quickly, where Selkirk had a lot of people but was really slow with the technology, and that's when they were like, okay, we can't use this anymore, and they started getting a lot of hate. I think the buying a ton of pros for Yola legitimized the company, and now you see, like, what is the number one paddle you see unsigned pros for PPA and APP use? Most of the time, they're probably going to be using Yola because they had such a large roster of signed pros that you just look at it now and go, well, if all these people are using it, I might as well. And now I think they're at the point where they've taken so much market cap that they just don't need to have pros signed anymore. So that's why now they're cutting.
Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, what is it? Probably like 5 of them that are, if that, are doing all the heavy lifting. It's like the 80-20 rule. It's like, I can't even think of like all the, Yola people that are like more at the bottom, but it's like, Ben is doing big heavy lifting. Anna Bright's probably helping. Like, you just name all these pros. Like,
but I don't know if Yola would have had the same effect on the market if they only signed like Ben and Colin and then didn't sign a ton of other people.
I definitely think it helped. I mean, they're on like every podium for the PBA.
Yeah, I can understand it. Like, they wanted to come in and uproot Selkirk as like the top dog, and I think they did. I understand it, but I also see that roster potentially receding.
Yeah. For Yola?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I have no doubt it will at some point. I'd be shocked if it did. And it's just funny to me to see this like kind of keep repeating itself. I'm like, do all these other brands not like see what I'm seeing? Like, I don't know. I think entering is fine, but you go crazy and start signing like 8+ people. I mean, maybe even more than 5. Why not just invest heavily in those 5 and make sure they're good?
I completely agree.
And they win a lot.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. You should have one guy, one girl, maybe a couple supporting players, and a bunch of juniors.
Yeah, well, juniors is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Juniors are
might
cheap.
take a while for it to pay off.
Maybe, but not. I mean, you're already seeing a bunch of juniors have really good success. Like Tomo is probably a pretty good acquisition for Selkirk. Yeah. Yep. Cam, great for who's he with now?
Isn't he with Pickle?
He's a Pickle.
I think he's a Pickle. Yeah, he's still with Pickle. So I don't know. Juniors, I think investing into juniors, I think is going to be a smart move for a lot of brands.
Yeah.
But I got a question for you guys now. Why do you think that some of the paddles that you guys love as reviewers, and you guys, all the other reviewers, right? You said like Apes and Honolulu and Bread and Butter and those guys. Why don't they get UPA-A approved? And you can get UPA-A approved, pay the marketing license, and you do not need to pay a player. If the paddle is good enough, the players will find it, right? If you are an unsponsored player, you're going to play with the best. And so you guys think that these couple of paddles are the best. They pay $50K for marketing fees. It ends up being $63K for testing and all that stuff. You pay $63K for any player to be allowed to use your paddle. Why don't you think they do it?
Oh, I mean, I have lots of thoughts on this.
All right,
I
let's
have a
hear
few,
it.
but you go first.
I mean, first of all, I think $63K for some of these mid-sized brands is a pretty substantial investment. I'm sure a lot of them can afford it. Actually, I know a number of them could definitely afford it. But it's like, you're just gambling, right? Like, okay, we did make a really good paddle, and a lot of people really like this paddle, but like now we have to hope and pray that these unsigned pros who may be decent or they aren't that good, and then they're just going to use it and we'll hope that somehow we earn that $63K back. Like, I think that gamble is really large. So if you have no pros, that seems silly. But also, one of the even bigger things that probably leads into some of the other stuff we'll talk about is like, I just think that a Honolulu is a perfect example in my mind. Let's take like the J2NF, which was like pretty big last year. The paddle is very good, but I don't think most pros would probably pick it as what they would use. But I think for amateurs, it has a lot of things going for it that are extremely appealing. One, the price is like very reasonable. That's great. The sweet spot is very large. Pros, I think they like sweet spots, but it's probably not the biggest priority. It was, at the time, lower end of power. Pros probably want more power than what it has. And then is pretty durable. Pros don't really care about durability. Like, yeah, they don't want their stuff to break, but like, you guys get as many as you want. So like, in that way, it doesn't matter that much. So I think there are things that are really appealing to an amateur and important. Sweet spot size, it's quick in the hand, and it's cheap and durable. And like most of those things I just listed, a pro's like, I don't care. Give me literally whatever the best performing thing is.
But I also think specifically in the case of Honolulu, it would not make sense for them because their strategy of making paddles is, we're going to have a factory make 12 different paddles, and we're going to buy a small quantity of all of them and then see which one sells well and then cut the rest. They just throw everything at the wall and find the one that sticks and then make that. So like, it wouldn't make sense for them to be like, we got to pay $3,000 for this one and this one and this one. Like, it's just so much more expensive.
Sure. But I guess they could do that after. They could do that after they know which one's already like good, I suppose. So my main thing was like, I feel like I see the ROI argument thrown around there a lot, and I don't buy that for a second, because $63,000 comes out to, if you're selling a $200 paddle, that comes out to like 315 paddles, right? Like, somebody makes a good run, I do get the sense that there's probably an incremental 300 paddles sold over the course of a year.
Okay,
right?
think about this though. Let's take Pickle. I think it's probably one of the best examples. Tyra, Gabe, two people, Gabe especially, because he's playing with Ben and winning all the time. But Tyra's also like very elite and like just very appealing as a person. I don't think both of them have moved the needle for Pickle in the way that they would hope. Like, I would be willing to bet you that a reviewer, if Pickle made like a really good paddle that they all liked, would move the needle significantly more than what a player would. So then to me, it's like, okay, while maybe 63 grand isn't the end of the world, like, why are you going to do it if like Gabe and Tyra can't even move the needle enough?
I don't know if like, I wish somebody would give us some statistics that we could talk about on that. I had heard that there are certain pros who have mentioned their paddle in an interview and $20,000-$30,000 within the next 48 hours of sales.
Sure.
Like, they win a medal and they immediately $30K of like sales.
Yeah.
So like, I guess I don't know if we can argue on that until we have
Get
some
numbers.
information, right? Because like, I agree. You know, there's certain pros you just don't see. They're on the medal stand all the time, but you don't see their paddles frequently. And Yeah, it'd be if anybody wants to drop their pro ROI, like please let us know.
Send it in.
The other thing, like when I think about it too, is like pros. There are a lot like, okay, YOLO's the best example. Like if someone's gonna come in unsigned or someone can pick a new paddle, like let's go back 5 months, maybe 6 months, because it's a little easier of an argument. Most of them are gonna be like, I know the YOLO's good. I know everyone uses a YOLO. I've probably hit a YOLO. I feel like it would be very hard. Like let's say the bread and butter loco like starts popping up. That one has made some noise because of the paddle awards at the end of the year, but like I think it would take a while for all the pros to start going like, oh yeah, dude, like this loco's really legit. Like I think they would more so stick with the paddles that they've already heard about and they see their peers using rather than like, like what is this paddle these reviewers talk about like any good? Like some of them, you know, you're a little bit more familiar.
Well, it doesn't matter to us though, because it's like, and we just would never be able to even have that conversation because if it's not UPA approved, it doesn't matter.
I'm assuming like, let's just like assume it was UPA approved. I think the odds of pros actually picking it up and that being their first choice versus all of the ones they already know that are UPA-A, I'm just saying like, I think the odds of like that gamble paying off for the brand is very low.
Fair.
Also, a brand like Bread and Butter is already selling out constantly. And if they're already doing well in the numbers they want, why would they spend more just to sell out of the same number of paddles?
There's also that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think I don't think 300 paddles over the course of a year is a hard thing to ROI on the
I
60K.
agree. If your paddle's good enough, I agree.
Yeah.
Like there are certain brands like I really don't think Honolulu would do that well if they approved one of their paddles.
And I think
or
that
apes.
gets into like what a pro would like out of their paddle versus what's good for a normal amateur.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. I like the Loco, I think that should be approved. I would use that. Every pro I've let use one says they ask me, the first thing they ask is, can I use this? And I'd say, no, you can't, but they all like it. So there are certain paddles I do think should be approved that aren't, but most I think are better off sticking with USAP approval only.
I think you'd be very surprised if pros. I think you'd be very surprised with how much pros actually try. A lot of them. So I mean, like, there's going to be a handful of pros that are trying tons of paddles. There are going to be some that just do not care and can play with anything. But like, you know, if some of these were available, I do think that the best available paddles for an unsigned pro would sort of find their way into the hands of unsigned pros.
I'd be very curious to see, just because it'll be interesting even as some of these other brands like pop into, like, for example, I think the Pro 4, I think objectively it is a good paddle. And for pros, I think especially if they're getting them for free, a lot of the issues, I mean, this is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Pro 4 is in the hand of amateurs. First of all, it's expensive. The customer service is not great. They also core crush a lot. So you're going to have to warranty. It's
Right.
like the whole experience is bad, but if you're Ben Johns, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You have them all in your hand, and like that's where I think, you know, these differences between like a Yola and a Honolulu as an amateur versus a pro. It's like, well, the things that matter to me like aren't even a problem, but it is for the amateur. So like, I think things like that are just like kind of interesting, and people don't like often think about.
Yeah,
You know?
well, you hit on some of that stuff earlier. Like, I think a couple of things that we're looking at and why that's going to be why that differs from paddle reviewers is we're looking for peak playability, not durability, right? Yeah. Like, when it's perfectly broken in, when it's got the perfect amount of surface texture, whatever that is, like, we want that sweet spot. And we also want something that, like, breaks in pretty quickly, right? An amateur player doesn't. They want something they can use for 6 months. Yeah. We want something that's, like, ready to hit rockets in a couple hours.
Yeah.
You mentioned the sweet spot. Sweet spot's not a huge deal for pros. That picture of Annalie's paddle that surfaced on Reddit,
that's crazy,
of like her hitting within like a single pickleball size of the sweet spot, like every single time, was nuts. Like, pro players are good ball strikers. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And then I think control paddles. Control doesn't mean anything to pros. Like, I can control a wood paddle. I can control a training tool paddle. Like, I've got that whole series on pros versus 5.0s. We won both of those challenges with a wood paddle and with a training tool. Control means nothing because, personally, I think that control comes from the player, and your paddle can help you be a crutch with control, actually. I think if you've got a super soft, like 18 millimeter paddle as an amateur, that's a crutch. That's not something that's actually helping you. You're not developing your ability to control shots. Because I see this all the time with like people will come into a clinic and they're like hacking at dinks, but they've got the world's softest paddle. I'm like, your paddle is hiding the fact that your dink is broken. So anyway, I do think
This is back to the James Ignatowicz argument. Remember when James Ignatowicz was like, amateurs need to be using power paddles.
Steven, like, it's interesting. Like, I think, and we've talked about this on the pod. Like, I think there are so many different styles of play that, like, really it just comes down to like preference at the end of the day. Like, I do think control paddles these days are like phasing out in relevancy. Like, I think most people could get away with an all court, but like, I also think a lot of amateurs, like, let's take an amateur who likes pickleball, but they're not drilling all the time. Like, they want to get better, but their version of getting better is like, I'm just going to play a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really watching videos. I just play a lot. Like, I don't think that player is actually better suited with a boomstick. Like, I think they're better suited with an all-court paddle because they're just taking larger swings and, like, they don't know how to, like, not do much to not pop it up, you know?
I'd agree. Like, I do agree. And I think if your goal is to get better, you should challenge yourself and learn with that power paddle.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that, yes, the control paddles do mask a lot of the issues, and you'll be better with that in the short term. What I'm saying is, I think a power paddle will be better for somebody who's actually trying to get better long term, and the control paddles, I think I compare it to teaching a 3-0 how to hit a third shot drop. A 3-0 strategically should never hit a third shot drop. Just drive everything. Like, you're going to win more points that way.
Sure.
However, you're not going to get better. That's the same thing I see here, right? You would be better off using a control paddle because it's going to mask some of your bad habits in the short term. However, you're not going to actually develop the real feel that you need over time.
But there's definitely a limit to it. Like, I think
Keep going.
there's a limit of like what power paddle I think would be suitable for somebody to get better with. Because like,
there's too much.
Maybe like a Lux is way too much of a control paddle, but a boomstick is probably way too much. Finding something in middle. You did a Chasing 5-0 with Jack Monroe, I think, where you guys had like mini tennis rackets.
Yeah.
Did you win that one, or
crazy.
did you? I can't remember if you won or lost that one.
It was kind of close.
I remember
but we
being close.
lost.
Yeah, see, that's clearly, even for you guys who have great touch and short swings, it's like that's completely uncontrollable. So I'm just imagining like a boomstick in a 3-0's hands is a tennis racket in your hands, right?
And also one quick note that I think about. So I was thinking about some of my mechanics recently, and like I play more with like power-ish paddles these days, and where I think a power paddle could also hurt you, and where maybe an all-court paddle would be better is like a power paddle, let's take a boomstick, can mask the fact that you don't actually know how to use your kinetic chain or like strike the ball properly, but you can get away with something and like hit a weird spot because it's so poppy. I think you can make arguments both sides. I don't think there's right or wrong.
I agree with that too, right? Like in the quick hand stuff,
yeah.
Some of those power paddles will be, I think, a little bit of a crutch.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I do agree with that as well.
Yeah. And I don't think I don't think you're wrong. I don't think I'm right in this case. Like, I think you could pick either path and you could develop a player that could be really good or they could be really bad depending on how it's set up. And that's why I think we're kind of at a point where, like, realistically, most amateurs, they should probably just play with an all-court paddle. And then as you get more advanced, I think you start dialing in, like, preferences. Like, what do I want long-term? What do I feel comfortable with? I mean, look at Gabe and Tyra. Like clearly kill it with, like, some of the softest pills on the market. Like, they're fine. Maybe they'd do better with a power paddle. But, like, I don't know. Looking at Gabe, like, I don't think he really is, like, give me a boomstick, you know?
I think Gabe is an outlier in the pro game, right?
Sure.
And I think Tyra is too. The way that I think their paddles have really actually suited their games. It's not what the vast majority of pros want, but somebody like Gabe really wants. You can actually build, I feel like, a little bit more deception and ability to hit spinny, dippy shots with some of these paddles that aren't as like crazy powerful. Particularly from the kitchen, right? You can just have more movement on your shots. Like if you look at how much he's actually swinging at some of these dinks, you kind of need a dead paddle to do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that with something that's going to trampoline off at low swing speeds.
Yeah.
And so that's something that Gabe is so hard to play against because every single time he swings, he looks like he's about to speed the ball up, but then he'll just massage it with his paddle, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that they're an anomaly in the pro game, because they're the couple of players that prefer a control paddle over a power. I mean, I'd say it's got to be 90+% of pros are looking for just trampoline effect is the number one thing we're probably looking for.
So I'd actually be curious because you know more pros, but like I've talked to a handful now, end of 2025, just as I was going to these tournaments, and I was actually surprised how many of them would talk about certain paddles, like foam paddles, and be like, it's too hot. Like I actually don't like how hot this is. Like I'm having a hard time shaping the ball. Like I feel like it doesn't grab as much. Like it's just springing too much, and like maybe control wasn't the issue, but just certain shots, they were like, I don't like how it comes off. And I feel like there's almost more of this shift where like Gen 3 era, the pros were like, bro, I can't win unless you give me something this hot. And now that we've gotten to the point where there's actually regulations on power and like anyone can theoretically make a really hot paddle, now it feels like people want power. They don't want a control paddle and probably not even an all-court paddle, but it's almost like they don't necessarily want the highest they can have.
Sure. Well, I think the entire pro game stems from being able to win hands battles, and you have to work everything backwards from there. And so what do I mean by that is like you could be the best dinker, best speeder upper, best everything, but if you can't hang in the hands battle because you have like an inferior piece of equipment potentially, none of that other stuff matters quite as much. And so when it was an arms race and everybody was using something hotter than the other, it was like, yeah, you need to just keep up. And it was probably because there were some paddles that were probably way too powerful, right? It was probably just a litle bit unchecked. And so you did have to try and get as close to that spot as you could. But now I do think like with better testing processes, challenge system in place, like I do think we've actually in the pro game are at a really good spot with like not unchecked power. And I do think that is bringing back elements of, all right, what else can this paddle do for me?
Yeah.
Shaping. And I guess that was the other thing that we were going to chat about is like power is great, right? But it also does take away from your spin. Now, theoretically, there could be a paddle that's super powerful and super spinny, but if it's super powerful and spinny at the same time, you can't keep that ball in. If it's a paddle that is like generates a ton of RPM and like hardly any power, that's what we would actually consider like a spinny paddle. Does that make sense? Am I like?
Yeah, you're saying it's
I'm
easier
tracking.
to overhit with a power paddle that like it has good spin, but it'd be easier to like hit that long than a control paddle that also has really good spin.
Well, yeah, because if the exit velocity is faster, right? So let's say it's 50 miles per hour from baseline to baseline, and your RPM is, say, well, our top is what, 2,200, or we brought it back to 2,100,
yeah,
right? So 2,100, and it's going 50 miles per hour. You only have, let's say, that's a half second for the ball to actually spin. Whereas if you've got something that hits way slower and it takes a full second to get there, you've actually generated way more. You've doubled the RPMs probably compared to the powerful paddle. So the RPMs could actually be the exact same, but the way it's applied in a real match would be pretty drastically different based on how powerful it actually is.
Well, and part of me wonders though, like, okay, if you had the power paddle, like if you wanted it to do the same thing as the control paddle, well, maybe you just have to swing softer then. Like if people are wanting to take like 80% or 90% strikes at the ball, like in terms of how hard they're swinging, then yeah, that comes into play. But like, okay, if you take the power paddle and swing it 40%, maybe that's enough to do the same as the control paddle, or do you still think there'd be a difference?
No, because I mean, I actually think about the 2023 Pro XR paddle as a perfect example, right? Like it was super soft, very, very surfaced texture, right? And when you tested it, it was like what average RPMs, right? But I don't think that took into account that it was soft and it was able. So you do need swing speed to generate spin, right? You can't just take you can't just take a half swing at the ball and expect to generate the same amount of spin, because if you're doing that, like, ball's going to slide off your paddle. If you're taking a 30% swing and just trying to shape something with a cannon, you do still have to hit out in order to generate that spin. So I don't think you can just lay up with a powerful paddle and generate the same amount of spin.
No. I mean, you have a thought? I have some thoughts, but
No, I agree with Zane.
I think that I don't disagree with it. I think what's interesting, though, is like, so saying that, I don't think any of the pros, though, for the most part, it seems like they'd rather have the power than the extra spin. Like, people could make a softer, spinnier paddle, but it doesn't seem like anyone wants it.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that portion.
Sure.
Like, I think like power is still the name of the game, but I think that a more accurate measurement of spin would be actually a ratio of RPM to exit velocity.
Sure.
I think it's coming down, though, on pros wanting power. A lot of these pros that I've been talking to, and I've been traveling a lot recently, kind of with the tour and chatting with a lot of them, Roscoe wants less power, more spin. Hunter Yates, less power, more spin.
Singles in particular, though.
A lot of,
singles is, I think,
singles
a little
is where
different
it's
than
at.
dubs.
Oh, singles and dubs are definitely completely different games now. But even in doubles, Roscoe's like, these paddles are too much. I want it to be more dead and spin more.
But I also think I'd be curious to know, like, how much more dead, right? Like, if we could put it into, like, our translation of paddles, like, are we talking pickle level soft? Are we talking 6-0 or 6-0 coral soft? Like, you know, what is the limit? Maybe it's like J2NF, which is like, still be powerful, but it's like soft relative to a Luz Inferno to them.
Personally, I think we cap it at the level of like a coral and we boost the spin.
Here's I've argued this like many times. I'm curious what your take is. I feel like if let's just say you let it go crazy, ping pong rubber. You want to put that in? I feel like people are going to start hitting dinks that aren't coming back.
I think that's pretty interesting to watch.
You got to be more athletic.
But let's take singles. Do you think that wouldn't just completely break singles?
I think the way that we're playing singles right now is obviously
garbage.
It would have. You don't like it?
I
It's
think
way better
He's
than
just not good at it.
No, I don't care. I don't care for myself. I genuinely think that current singles is way less interesting than a couple years ago.
That's crazy.
So
Watching people play mini tennis on a tiny court, people are just, it elevates the memes that people are like, this is worse tennis. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're running on a smaller court. Like, how athletic are you?
But it's better than 2023, 2024, early 2025 singles. So the way that I think of singles in era, Electrum changed singles completely in 2021 when they first came out with that paddle. The first like raw carbon fiber paddle that was adopted by pros. Before that, you had to come to the net. You could not pass people outright. You had to play cat and mouse. That was the game because you couldn't generate the topspin to pass somebody who's already at the net, right? That, I think, was golden era of pickleball singles. That is where you had all these crazy cat and mouse highlights. That's where pickleball singles actually looked different than tennis singles, right? Then we get raw carbon fiber paddles where you can generate all of the spin that you want, and it turned into 1, 2, 3. That point is over within serve, return, third, maybe a fourth. That's about it. It's like, I'm going for broke on my third shot pass. Good luck. Have fun, everybody else.
See, but I feel like, and I mean, you're playing on the tour, so you do know better than me, but I feel like 2023, 2024, like maybe more, I'll say both of those years. Like when Ben was still more relevant or like winning a lot in singles, like that was the raw carbon fiber era and with more powerful paddles. And there was still a lot of cat and mouse and like people play like points. I feel like were still pretty extended. They were definitely shorter than like the earlier era that you're talking about. But I feel like that like made it unique to pickleball. And now the current era is like, oh, let's have a slugfest until you give me a short ball. Then I'll go to the net. And people are still getting past.
Okay, Here's my hot take. I don't think it's the paddles that are changing singles. I think it's the ball.
I agree with that.
So think
Sure.
back to when the Gen 3, original Gen 3, when they were core crushed out of the factory and those came out, they were still playing cat and mouse points with those paddles that are super powerful or more powerful than what we have capped now. But now singles is different. I think it's the ball, not the paddle.
Well, I think it's both. the power of paddles is higher and the ball is higher.
We give everybody boomsticks, but we play with Franklins. You're not going to see people staying baseline to baseline. You're going to see more cat and mouse.
Yeah, sure. That's fine by me. I think that would be better.
So it's not the paddle. It is more on the ball.
Well,
I would agree.
I mean, yes, that ball is very fast. You could nerf either, whether you want to do the paddle or the ball. I don't really care. I just think my whole argument was that current singles, I think, is very boring.
It does. It looks more like mini tennis. My argument is I think it's more interesting now because we're actually having longer rallies than like 2023 through end of 2024.
I like the fact. Sorry to cut you off. I like the fact that you have to be more strategic on which ball you come into the net on than I'm going to return and charge the net every single point.
Okay, my counter argument for this feels like back in the day when all we did was dink, and you like right now it's like, okay, we're gonna hit a bunch of ground strokes until you give me a short ball, kind of like when we had to dink and you finally gave a bad ball. No one liked that era. Now the era is like, I'll just peg you in the Hayden Patrick you just get, don't even. As soon as I said it, I knew. As soon as I said it, I knew you were gonna.
Is this Colin Johns?
Gosh dang it!
I didn't know Colin was on
I
the
can't
pod.
believe I don't even need to say anything. This is wild.
But you can just smoke someone in the chest. Like I just think it's equally watching people hit ground strokes from the baseline is equally as boring as watching a long dink rally to me. Less so because yes, people are running and they're not running and dinking. But to me, that feels the equivalent.
But I mean, a long dink rally is like 70 shots. A long singles rally is like 15. Like I just,
Yeah.
I think you're the odd one out on this one.
Zane and I are on the same page here.
Yeah, we got two pro shills over here. We'll see let's see what the people who actually have to watch this stuff think.
I'm not fond of where singles is, and so don't take that the wrong way. Like I prefer the way that it was played like 2020 and before. All I'm saying is I think the ground stroke era was better than the 3-shot era of singles.
So, but you agree that if we were more in the cat and mouse era, it would be better.
100%. Yes.
Okay, that's my whole argument. I don't really care which year you're picking here. It's just that I think cat and mouse style stuff was way more entertaining.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. Like I just think like watching these ground strokes, I'm like, for example, like I felt for the longest time that generally men's singles was a lot more entertaining than women's singles because they'd already been doing ground stroke stuff from the baseline for so long, and I was like, okay, I'll just go watch tennis.
Agree.
Now we have both of them doing the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
But I do think like the athleticism that's on display currently versus any of the older eras is like far better. Like people are doing stuff that old eras like probably couldn't even imagine. Like the way they're moving and like sliding, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'd like to see like, I don't know how you actually do this in practice, but like a singles ball versus a doubles ball, right? A singles ball is just super, super dead. But, that'd be brutal for the players who play 3 divisions, right?
Yeah.
That's almost like singles completely diverging, but that's how you get that back to cat and mouse. You need a ball that doesn't bounce and is super slow.
Yeah.
And right now we have a ball that bounces like crazy and is super fast.
It's crazy. It's just an absolute rocket of a ball. Yeah. I mean, well, do you have any other hot takes? Otherwise, I got some questions for you probably.
Did I have any other hot takes? I don't remember.
Well, we've got one for the end. We'll save that hot take for the end.
All right.
Okay. Here's a great one. Isaac and I debate this all the time on the pod.
Oh boy.
I would love to hear your take on, as the meta has evolved for the game, like what you think about the current shapes that we have. So wide body, hybrid, elongated. If you think that meta will change over time, especially with the newer generation coming in, less so with like, look, Ben is never going to switch shapes. I do not believe Ben is ever going to use anything other than elongated. And probably most of the old guard that's in pickleball, I don't think it's worth it for them to switch now because they're already like on the way out, if you want to call it that, with the new generation like coming up over the next 5 years. So it's like probably not beneficial for them. But to me, I think there are benefits to the other shapes, but most of the top people, they all played tennis. They've been playing for years. Why would they switch now? I'm curious if you think pros should consider any other shapes, or if you're like, no, elongated is like definitively best for most of them.
It depends on the pro. It depends on if they play singles. If you play singles, you have to have an elongated paddle.
I completely agree with that.
And so that's the thing. Like if you're an all 3 division player, the paddle. So let's actually take singles out of the equation. If there was no singles, I think you'd see most people using a hybrid shape. and then some people using a wide body.
Our
And I
fake
think
beef
there's
is
still-
about to be real beef.
I think
We're
all
about
right.
to start this boxing match right here, right now.
No, I think if it was only doubles, I think you see 10 to 15% of pros using elongated, 60, 65, 70% going hybrid, and then the rest going wide body.
So
I don't know. You said that last year.
that's true. He remembered you made something about more pros were going to use a hybrid, and then none of them did.
You said
Oh, did I
2025.
really? Am I
Yeah,
just
you said 2025. Zane says 2025 is going to be the year of the hybrid. Like nobody used hybrids on the Pro Tour.
Oh boy! I'm giving you poster material.
So what is your thought process though about like them using a hybrid? Because to me, I would think a lot of the things that make a hybrid interesting for an amateur, pros maybe care a little less about. For example, like they are faster in the hand and they do have a marginally better sweet spot than an elongated, but like pros are choking up now. And in fact, well, maybe that's why. They're effectively turning their paddle into a hybrid. I don't know if that's why you're saying it, but I'm just curious why you think they'd use hybrid.
I think it's quicker in the hand, and I do think that like sweet spot's not the biggest thing for us, but like I think there's a noticeable difference between hybrid and elongated in terms of sweet spot. And I just don't think you need 16 and a half inches in doubles for the most part. I don't think that the incremental quarter inch has a good ROI for a pro in doubles, right? Like, okay, the only thing in doubles that you're really generating is like a tiny little bit more reach. In singles, it makes much more sense because you're getting more leverage. It moves your sweet spot up a little bit higher on the paddle. In doubles, that's not nearly as important, in my opinion. So that little bit of extra speed in the hands and the little bit of extra sweet spot, I think, makes sense in doubles.
Sure. Let's hear what you got.
Let's hear
See,
the counter.
my thing is even in doubles, I think sweet spot location on the paddle matters drastically.
Yeah.
So when you're dinking and hitting slow shots, no, you're not hitting near the top. And it doesn't really matter. Every paddle, elongated, wide body, doesn't matter. It's going to have a fine enough sweet spot to hit resets, hit dinks on slow shots. But when you're trying to hit quicker flicks and shots out of the air, I think having the sweet spot shifted up higher towards the tip of the paddle matters a ton. If you look at Gabe's paddle, his sweet spot is all worn out near the top of the paddle.
Yeah.
And I think shortening the paddle and then lowering the sweet spot towards the center loses a lot more reach than just a quarter inch or half an inch.
But also, like, when you hold up an elongated and a hybrid, like, the difference in that quarter inch is, like, a portion of the edge guard. Like, I just wonder for how many pros, how hard it would be to adjust that. Like, we're not talking about this. We're talking about, like,
But it
this.
also comes down to the type of player and the type of shots you hit, right? If you're someone who flicks out of the air a lot more, everyone I've talked to says they'd rather flick with an elongated. Also, the longer handle for tuies. Every person who I've talked to is like, I have to use an elongated paddle, is because they will not or don't like holding a shorter handle with a tuie.
Well, so here's one of my counter arguments, because you can make a long handle hybrid if you want. That's not hard. I think a lot of these pros, sure, I'm sure they've messed around a little bit with different shapes. Maybe a hybrid here or there, maybe a wide body, but they hit it for a couple games. Like, let's even say they did it for 30 games, not that many games. The amount of reps they have on the other shape, and if they come from tennis, and if they've been doing this for years, like, I just think their interest in changing shape, it'll be next to zero, which is why I'm more interested what the upcoming generation will use and what their preferences will be a couple years from, like, the arguments they'll be making. Like, they grew up on let's just say a hybrid or a wide body, and they're like, bro, an elongated just feels like it's so slow in my hand, or like I can't hit the shot I want. Like,
Is Hayden's elongated,
Yeah,
or is his
is elongated.
Interesting.
But
Yep.
you can make that argument for everybody. Oh, I grew up using this, so I don't like this.
well, sure, but I'm curious, like, if new generations will change and that becomes more the meta than what the meta is that all the people came from tennis. Like,
It won't.
we'll see. We don't know.
I think you made an interesting point, though, is like when you're hitting speed ups, I don't think you actually want, or at least pros don't want power on the speed ups. They want the shape, right? And so when you're hitting up towards the top of an elongated, you're getting a little bit more power than you probably actually want. And so if you hit that same exact spot on a hybrid and it's slightly dead, it's going to make your speed up better. It's going to make it a little bit spinnier. It's going to make it more deceptive. Like when you are speeding up, you don't want to hit the poppiest part of the paddle. When you're like trying to clock a ball, right? When you've got that overhead put away, yeah, you want to be within a couple inches at the top of that paddle. But when you're actually hitting speed ups, you don't want the extra pop. You want some to hit an actual kind of deader part of the paddle.
That's also why I've started to like I shifted towards power paddles recently, and now I'm actually going backwards and using less powerful paddles because I don't like how a lot of these power paddles have a really hot spot in one point.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a sweet spot that is not dead's the wrong word because it gives a bad look on it has too many dead spots, but I'd have a flattened out sweet spot with it not a really crazy hot, like the boomstick, you hit it right in that sweet spot and it's just launching, right? I'd rather mellow that hot spot out and spread it across than the boomstick where it's just like launching. I don't know if that made sense. I explained that terribly.
No, I
get
mean, it
what you're
makes
saying.
sense. But like, what I want to see, because I feel like I've seen this a lot of times in some lessons I've taken and just other things, I would love to see consistently every single type of shot we're discussing right now from a variety of different players with a super slow-mo camera and see where everyone is actually hitting. Because when people describe some of these things, they're like, I'm hitting like right at the tip, like basically right before the edge guard. And I'm like, I think that's where you think you're hitting the ball, but I don't know if that's actually where you're striking it. That might be like the cue you're giving yourself to, like, let's say this is the tip before the edge guard. I feel like they might be hitting here, but the cue they're giving themselves to hit there is up here.
It depends on the stroke. Like I've got pretty good, you'll just have to take my word for this, but I was drilling ground strokes this one time with a brand new paddle. And I always find forehand side, backhand side, right? Like I can tell based on the grip what side of the paddle I'm using. And so I hit for like, half an hour of only ground strokes. And my forehand side was like, the dispersion was like all like 2.5 inches from the top. The backhand side was like a little bit higher than center of the paddle, but like it was ground strokes. So this is just like a one-time ground stroke situation. And I think when you play doubles in hands battles, the hitting zone is way off. But in certain shots, I do think that there's like a good amount of control. Like I think if you looked at players' paddles when they're dinking, they're probably pretty close to what, maybe not what they think, but I think they're pretty consistent in where on the paddle they hit.
Where on the paddle? Yeah, that
I mean,
do think.
Gabe handed me his paddle when we were at the Masters. He'd used for 2 weeks. Every single strike, you see no ball marks down here. They're all literally right at the top.
Yeah. I don't know. Be interesting to see for sure.
I made with some of the last Pro XR paddles, they initially made one that had the XR at the top colored in, and I was like, no, we have to take the color out of that. And it was like, an inch and a half from the top, and they're like, are you serious? Like we printed like a decent amount. Like, yes, I hit that very, very consistently. That is right in the center of my like dispersion. And so we made that like hollow. What do you mean? Like not filled in?
Yeah, not filled
right?
in the text. Yeah.
Because when you play with a new paddle, it picks up crap from the ball. You see exactly where you're hitting, especially for me because I always find the same side for forehand versus
I do the same
backhand.
thing.
Yeah.
So with you talking about like this do you like the hybrid shape? I'm guessing.
I do. I still use elongated.
But he uses
Yeah,
elongated.
that's why I was so like. Is it just because that's what you're used to and you don't feel like it's worth it to switch, or if you're in favor of it, why not just switch to it? Why not have Pro XR make one and use it?
Because I play singles and it's so because I play singles, the elongated is just way better for singles.
Yeah.
Way better for singles. Like you almost have to use it for singles. And you can get by with it in doubles. It's not optimal for doubles. It's also too difficult to switch. Okay, I'm going to play singles elongated and doubles with a hybrid. It's just like, the correct paddle in singles can take your game from, let's say, an arbitrary measurement of 50 to 75, whereas the correct paddle in doubles will take you from 50 to 60 maybe.
So really the problem is singles.
The problem is singles. Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. Like you compare tennis singles and doubles, and like obviously those games are just completely different, but how it's like you just use the same racket all the time. But pickleball, it's like it actually matters, right? Like I would never ever tell someone to use a wide body for singles. Like I don't think that makes any sense. But then again, you look at Anna Lee and it just doesn't even matter. So like somehow she makes it work. But objectively, I do think elongated just makes more sense across the board for singles. Like I don't think there's anything that a wide body has a benefit of is of no use in singles.
I agree. Yeah.
Like
so I think singles is the problem because it outweighs, any potential benefits to me of switching to a hybrid.
Sure. Okay.
I think if I was only playing doubles, I would do a hybrid.
Okay, interesting. Let's see here.
You brought in the wrong pro for this. We need somebody who actually is winning.
That's fair. In my first round losses,
I was gonna say, how many first rounds did you win today?
Ooh,
the same as you actually.
I was gonna say.
That's hilarious. Okay, let's talk about this. I want to just talk about like thoughts on foam because this is another one that I think has been so funny. I'll see all these like decent amateurs, maybe they're in the 5.0 or maybe there's just other enthusiasts and they're like, no pros use foam. Foam must be garbage. Foam is like overhyped. And I'm like, I think a lot of people don't realize the different regulatory bodies and why you guys are stuck using some of the things you're using. And now I do believe there probably are pros that are like, look, I don't care about foam. Like, again, it goes back to amateur versus pros. Like durability of foam, amazing for amateurs. You guys don't care. So like certain benefits there just don't matter. But I also think it's like you guys just didn't have a lot of companies were lagging behind some of the other people that were making foam paddles. Carbon was first, then the enthusiast brands hopped on, and now you have all the big brands hopping on. Paddle Tech is now one of them, Selkirk's on it, and Luz, and like Proton just made one. Basically, everyone's doing it now. What is your thought about some of the polymer paddles you've used and now with foam paddles? Like, do you feel like it actually makes a difference for you, or it's just different and the benefit is like there really is no big benefit?
I think the biggest thing I notice, I feel like with foam is just some of the slow swing speed, like ability to just pop something back for the most part. Like other than that, I don't think it's, to me, feels like anything crazy different. But frankly, like I would say, I think I'm a bit of a nerd on the overall paddle industry and I can understand how things play for the most part, but I've disassociated from trying to understand paddle technology. I would say I was completely up to date through late 2021, early 2022. I would buy every single new paddle, understand what what's inside of it. At this point, I don't care anymore. There's too much stuff going on constantly. Give me a paddle. All right, does it feel good? Does it not? Feels good. Boom, I'll use it. So like I'm actually not somebody who's super technical with a paddle anymore. Used to be, but it's a full-time job, as you guys know.
It's funny. I actually think people at some point, I wouldn't even be surprised if this happens to reviewers, where they care a little less about the technical details. One, because I think at some point companies may just like have more proprietary things that they just don't really want to explain, or it just goes over the heads of people. But also like even some of the paddles that I know I'm going to review soon, I'm like, okay, you guys are advertising all these like really like allegedly cool things you did with the core, but at the end of the day, does it actually make it play any better? Like, I don't care what you did to it if it doesn't play well.
Yeah.
So if it plays fine, like, okay, there's a bunch of fun marketing speak. So I wonder if at some point it will be a little bit less about what the technology is, and maybe you have some patterns, like, is it foam, is it polymer? Maybe you have a preference one way or another, and that's more what you stick to, but not like, I need this multi EPP EVA like half ring. Like I think some of that conversation will stop in years to come.
That's what I was arguing a few weeks ago. With all these gimmicks in the cores and stuff, you see some of the most popular foam, specifically foam paddles, are not doing anything gimmicky with the core. It just works. I think adding these gimmicks and marketing things make them worse, to be honest.
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, like, I am not even going to talk to all the different cores and all that stuff, but I think, I do think that that's actually one thing that the paddle reviewers miss is, like, I do think that there's just an overall overemphasis on all of the new technology, or people doing the exact same thing and claiming it's new technology. Like, at the end of the day, I think there's slightly too much focus on new tech versus, all right, is this thing actually good? And I know, okay, so I know I'm with Paddle Tech. I don't want to say this as a shill, but like, if you like, but if you look at unsigned players from last year, Chris Hayworth and Hunter Johnson were using the Christian Alshon paddle, and it was like old technology, if you will, right? It's just like, who cares what type of technology is if people are using it and it's good, right?
I have always said that the Gen 1, like Paddle Techs, and even some of the old engages, even though those aren't really used anymore, there will always be a market for those and a player base that likes those paddles because it's such a unique, different feel. Really crisp, sharp sweet spot with really dead edges, and it just slaps the ball. It just rockets the ball when you hit the center. And so I think there will always be, even though I don't think that's the best for a lot of people, that goes back to the what pros are going to like versus what amateurs should use argument, where I think better players, particularly singles players, I've always said, well, maybe not always, but particularly recently, getting more into singles again, I actually prefer Gen 1 paddles in specifically singles than doubles.
I also do think what's interesting, like from the reviewer side of things, I think, because I felt very similarly. For example, I think sometimes people miss the fact, like I would say as 2025 went on, I started recommending the Paddle Tech less, not because it was old technology, but because objectively for price and performance and what amateurs need, I think it just started to lack. And I do think there are a lot of reviews where it's like, it just gets, and this is exactly when you were bringing up the whole core thing, this is why I was pointing this out, is I think there are certain things that people like overemphasize as like really cool, but it's like, it doesn't really matter unless it gives you something new.
Right.
So it's like, it doesn't really matter if it's old tech or new tech. Like some people used to do the whole Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, and like a lot of consumers would think each gen means it's better.
Right.
Higher
that just
gen
became
is
marketing.
It's not how it works. Like a Paddle Tech for a period of time as a Gen 1 was still competitive against a Gen 3, but there were clear drawbacks, right? Sweet spot being one of the biggest ones. But I guess I'll say I completely agree with you. Like,
but I mean, like, isn't that so? I get to be now on the outside because I feel like the paddle reviewers are always saying like, you know, don't, and I don't know if this is you guys or not, but like, don't listen to pros. They get paid to use the paddles. Yeah, of course, right? Like we do 100%. But at the same time, like paddle reviewers got to make money somehow, right? And how do you guys make money? Affiliate links, right? Yeah. And so I do think that in the industry, if you look at incentives, isn't there a bit of an incentive for paddle reviewers to hype some of the new stuff to move paddles? Like, you got to upgrade your paddle, even though it's basically the same thing, right? I mean,
it's funny you say that because that is something in the last probably 10 podcasts that we've actually said the opposite of, where a new paddle comes out, we're like, it's not any better. If you already bought this and like it, don't go buy this because it's not any better and you're fine with what you have. Even though you might have some FOMO of some new tech or whatever, it's not any better. And this guy has been beating that dead horse like every podcast with paddles.
I have been saying it a lot. And actually, it's funny. I wrote a YouTube post today and I actually said the same thing again.
See?
It was about the Vapor Power 2, which I think is an awesome paddle and I think will be very popular. But I was like, if you own a Loco, a Boomstick, or an Inferno, like, don't. Like, there's no point. But I think what's interesting about that is I completely agree with you. And I think a lot of people point this out online. And I think it's like, what's been very interesting to watch the paddle like industry develop is like when I got into this, I came in with like a very clear goal, which has not changed, which is there wasn't anyone giving like very good information about the paddles. It was either from the company, a rep, or someone who was like paid for these things. And I was like, okay, someone's got to be this thing. And there wasn't even really affiliate links. Like it was probably a full year before I even knew what an affiliate link was. But I do think as I've watched the industry go on, it's definitely changed. Like for a while, reviewers that were coming in definitely, I think, held the same belief, like this is the objective. And I think now there are people realizing like, oh, you can make money and there are more efficient ways to make money. And I think that has changed. While I don't think everyone or I don't think a lot of people are intentionally being dishonest. I do think that there are phrases or ways that things are worded to intentionally sound a little bit more enticing, or like knows how to get a consumer maybe excited. And like, these are things I think about a lot that I really never talk about publicly, and like maybe I should. For example, like, actually I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, but recently there was like, in the last year, there was a lot of talk about, well, some companies, they pay a higher affiliate percentage.
Right.
And clearly the reviewers like some of these brands.
Right.
And so
that's what I was really curious about, is like, are they standard? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Go ahead. I'm very curious about this.
So it's definitely not standard. I would say up to a point. I've definitely had like no-name brands like forever ago. Like one brand came to me one time and they offered me like upwards of like 60 or 65% of every sale.
That's crazy.
And I was like, just don't even send me a paddle. Like I'm just not interested, because they didn't look like they had anything interesting. And I was like, no, like I don't even want that. I would say these days, most of it's standardized. I've seen there are a couple companies that hop out of the norm, but what I've started doing is those companies that hop out of the norm, I've told them like, I only go up to this number. I don't go any higher than this.
Yeah.
Like there was one company recently, I'll be very curious over the next couple months to see if this brand starts popping up more.
Okay.
There's a brand that definitely went out of the norm. And as soon as I got the email, or when I realized I had the email, I told him, I
I'm
don't
not doing that.
Like, keep me at this. I don't go any higher than this.
Yeah.
So that's what I personally do to keep a more level playing field. Now, however, there are still like companies that would be like, let's say 10% and 20%. Sure, there's a disparity there. But that's like one of the ways I think about it, is like, I want that to not, I don't want people to ever think that that percentage is the reason I gave it a good review.
Sure. Interesting. I wonder, you're not giving the number, and I don't want to like pressure you into this, but like, I wonder if some sort of disclosure, because then it's not you guys necessarily, right? Because I think you guys are in the spot that you're at because you have so much trust with people. You aren't trying to sell the new technology every time, like you said. Like, you are like intentionally just giving the best advice, not necessarily what's like best for you, and that's amazing. However, I just don't think that that's every single person.
No,
everybody knows.
not.
Everybody knows people who will do whatever it takes to take a quick buck. All right, if you guys. Sorry, this is my podcast.
Go for it, please.
He's taking over.
If you guys had to recommend a different source to you, like for paddles, who would be your Mount Rushmore of other paddle reviewers? We'll give a top 4.
Top 4.
Okay, is that too many?
No,
Are you guys the only guys?
No, but okay, I'm only gonna do one.
Okay.
For the simple fact that like, I just think that if you go to 4, like whoever is
Sure,
left
fair.
out is then a
Yeah.
little upset.
I think we have the same one.
we
in
definitely
mind.
have the same number.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if we did. It'd be John.
John Q.
Yeah, okay, I figured.
John Q is he's the next goat.
Yeah, you guys
John's
want to
the best.
name names of any real ones?
Maybe not. I think we'll pass on that
Come
one.
on, guys. On my show, I call people out when they're cheating. Like,
Yeah, but that's a little different.
I'm not trying to make enemies out here. And I think what's really interesting, like I've definitely had first of all, I just know some like industry inside stuff, and I've heard about some other people, and I'm like, wow, that is not good behavior that I would heavily want to disincentivize after hearing that for everyone across the board. But it's one of those things where it's like, one, I think people can kind of do what they want, and I think the consumer is mostly probably smart enough to figure it out. But it's just like, I don't like drama, It's just one
This
of those
guy
things
is
I'm like,
he's allergic to drama.
no, I
Fair
avoid
enough.
drama as much as I can.
Do you like drama? Should I have asked the question to you?
I kind
He
of
likes it more than-
like getting into a little bit of drama.
Aizec likes it more than I do. That's
For sure. He's allergic to it. I just dip my toes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Also, people just this is a crazy cool setup. Nobody came and donated this to you guys, right? Like, you spend your time, your money, like all that. Like, yeah, this isn't a charity. We enjoy doing it, right? But like, you have to make some money to be able to put the content out.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I got called a shill a little bit for I got this. Hey guys, I'm not a shill. I turned this around. All right, I turned this around. I got called a shill on Reddit for using Slam It and promoting Slam It.
We even told him he could show the logo if he wanted. I said I don't care.
That's
I'm
true.
like, no. So anyway, like.
Ad's over, guys.
But like, you've got to generate some income somehow, and like,
For sure.
if you're promoting a paddle that you like or a drink that you like, whatever it is, like that is how you create the content. And I think the way I think about it too is like, okay, these people have not taken, but like used your advice, probably saved some amount of monetary value, like. I think at a certain point when you know somebody like that, or at least they feel like they know you, like, yeah, I think it's reasonable to be like, hey, look, I've got this thing that I use. As long as you actually use it, Slam It is like everywhere. They've put a ton of money behind paid ads, but like I've drank 2 hydrates and a Focus today, like legitimately. So it's a product I use at least twice a day.
I think what's really interesting is one, first of all, I think that like people need to understand that like what you're doing, what I'm doing, like, yeah, we have to make money. I think there are just like healthy ways to make money and unhealthy ways. Like if you were just promoting anything that came your way and you're like, yeah, this is the greatest thing, right? Like clearly you believe in Slam It and you like it. And I think that's the difference that's missing in a lot of areas, like particularly outside of pickleball. Overall, I actually think pickleball is very healthy in people's approaches. Like look at influencers in health and fitness. And like the things they promote, or maybe even like makeup or all these other things, like influencer culture, I think is like way worse. Like I think people have it like easy in pickleball, but the reason people are so skeptical of like what you're doing, or maybe even people who are skeptical of what I'm doing, is because of everywhere else that it's terrible. They're like, there's no way an influencer could ever be good because they make money, right? Like they're incentivized they're getting paid. They're never going to say something bad. And that's why I think it's important. Like when I've had reviews of paddles that are bad, like this is what I think honestly is just the best policy, period. Your people's ability to believe you is heavily dependent on you being honest on like everything you can be. So if I slam a paddle, like, like, oh, this guy will go there for that. And when I say it's good, that probably means, like, okay, he's not just saying it because like he could make money, right? And I think that's why like ultimately people figure it out, right? Like I think when you look at all the different channels, like I think we have gotten to where we are at the top because we've done it what I feel is like about as right of the way as you could possibly do it, right?
I genuinely think that's why you guys and John are like, yeah, I think you guys have a long time horizon in that like you understand if we do right by the audience, we make money long term, right? Like it's not I need to do something for a cash grab, which can be appealing. Like, look, I've made mistakes in sponsorship, like promoting something that I only quasi believed in previously. Like I've definitely made that mistake when I was attempting to ramp up production. And I'm like, man, I'm losing $50K per year because I don't know how to edit anything. So I got to pay people to do that. I'm losing $50K per year. Yeah. This deal of something that's, it's hard to pass up. Like I don't, I guess, blame somebody for that, but I think if you continue to fall down that path repeatedly, you end up only shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. I think there's like a lot of like gray area that is like, you don't have to be maybe the most enthused. Like if Mellon ever came and wanted these hats, I would like be over the moon. Like that'd be the best sponsor I could ever have on this podcast because I've been using them for years. Right. And like, I just love it.
Look at the wall.
But I think there is, the wall. I think there is, like, can be products that maybe like aren't your favorite thing in the world, but there are also a lot of your audience that like maybe would really like that. Like, I'm just gonna make something up here. I hate sparkling water. I think it's garbage, but I know a lot of people love sparkling water. So like, would it be bad for me to promote a sparkling water drink, even though I don't believe in it? Like a lot of people like that's a gray area to me. It's not a product that would be inherently bad for you.
And like, what about on the flip side? What if Chris loves crystal meth? Like, I love this. Like, should you promote that to other people?
You wouldn't believe how hard it is for me to keep this guy off it. Okay.
right? So there could be products that like you really believe in that are just awful for people.
I mean,
right?
that there absolutely could be that too.
For sure.
That's an interesting thought. Thankfully, I don't think I'll ever have to worry about that, but if it ever does, I'll hit you up. Oh man, okay, that was a funny one. All right, a couple of other things. First of all, are you on any time crunch?
No, I'm chilling.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure.
I will say I got to get running soon. I have a dinner to get to. I'm probably going to be a couple minutes late. But so before I go, do you have any specific questions for me before I go?
Specific questions
Mostly
for you.
it's for this guy. He's the one everyone wants to know for. But I mean, I don't know. Before I go.
Specific questions for you. Oh,
Like,
we did like a couple of virtual lessons. So I
Yeah.
want to know like what's going on in your game. Like, how do you feel like you're hitting them? Like, what do you got to work on?
it's been good. Yeah, the virtual lessons were awesome. Definitely got a lot of really good info. Been still recording a lot more, and I've been asking some other people too. Like Roscoe's become a really good friend of mine, so he's helped me out with some stuff. Probably more on the singles side of things. But I have learned that playing at the pro level and playing with these 6-0 or higher guys, it isn't anything fancy. It is literally it is the most simple form of the game possible of just make more balls. Whoever can do the fundamentals more consistently wins matches. So like I played the Masters recently, won both my first rounds in mixed and men's, and then in men's ran into what I would consider the number one team in qualies of Naveen, Beasley, and Rio, and we got smoked. They didn't do anything special. There were times where I felt like they were beatable. They just were much more consistent and made a lot more balls than we did. They didn't really pressure us that much. It was just consistency. I don't know if you would agree with that. You're obviously a pro.
Balls.
Got to make more balls, Zane.
I think it's a play style thing, right? Like I think people try to be a little bit too unpredictable, and that works for some people in their game. But who are the most predictable players in pickleball? Probably Ben and JW. I could probably tell you every single shot where Ben's going to hit. Right?
I'd agree with that.
But he beats you with execution. And then on the other end of that spectrum is Anna Lee, who's like and Gabe, right? Who are very like unpredictable. And so I think you got to find your style. Some people aren't ball makers, right? Some people are chaos, and other people are like a Ben, just make more balls.
I feel like the people who find the most success, besides the couple outliers like Gabe and Annalie, are ball makers who just
Generally.
play consistent games. I think it's probably a better style for most people, where the chaotic game is a very unique person-specific thing. Where if I was to recommend to anyone who like is trying to play pro, you'd probably want to lean towards more someone who's on the consistent side.
Yeah, you need to learn to make balls before you can understand when to like take more risk and how to play chaotic.
For sure.
If you're playing chaotic but you can't make balls, you're just bad. Like, hey, you're not playing chaotic.
Does that explain Zane's rounds today? Is that what has he got to go back to fundamentals?
Dude, I'm a content creator at this point. Come on.
You're messing it up for us. You were supposed to be the thing that made people believe that content creators could be good at pickleball. You screwed it up. You got worse when you started making content. You're not doing us any favors.
Dude, here's the thing. I'm still getting better at pickleball, but the game is just growing so unbelievably quickly at the top level. Like everybody is so freaking good. Like day over day, I think I'm still getting better, but relative to other people, I'm obviously not. Right? Yeah. Like,
look at some of these juniors, like
dude,
Will McKinnon.
Yeah,
that kid's a freak.
The game is going to change so much. Was there something else I was supposed to ask you, by the way?
No,
no.
I was just curious. I mean, before I left, I gotta get running. So, but yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Perfect.
with that, I'll leave you two to duke it out by yourselves.
This is gonna be rough. I can't believe you're leaving me with this guy. I might have to get someone else down here.
To be honest, in a fist fight, I might be picking Zane in this one.
I think in a fist fight, everybody here loses.
I think we're all in the hospital.
I'm the only one who's actually fought before. So with that being said, I'm out of here.
Okay. Well, now that it's just you and I, now we can have the real fun.
Yeah, now we can have the adult conversations. Like all the little children have left,
So I think one of the things before we get to some Q&A stuff, which I'm sure there's like way more on my phone about this, I did want to talk to you about, it's probably way more boring for the audience now, but just about like content stuff. It's been fun to like watch how much better you've gotten at it and your channel just like going up. What do you dislike about making content, and what's been like very fun?
Oh yeah. Well, first off, I guess I'll start with my goal is like, I do think we're at an interesting place in pickleball where we saw something like 80 to 120 million people have played pickleball. Like that's crazy. But how many people are interacting with the pro game? So you and I know how much interesting stuff there is going on in the pro game. But to me, it doesn't seem like we really have any storytellers about it, right? So, you know, Annalise, Dominant, like those sort of stories kind of get out there. But, you know, I think people want to see behind the curtain a little bit. And I don't talk about things that aren't public. I only talk about things that are out there. I don't do gossip. I definitely do drama. But the goal for me is like, I want to grow people's interest in the pro game because I think there is genuinely so much interesting stuff going on. And, you know, I think that pickleball to the moon, really. Like, I think that people, once they do get a taste, I think they stick around. I think they watch. I think when you turn on pickleball TV and it's 4 people playing that you don't know, it's easy. You just, okay, it's good players. Like, who cares? So the goal is to try and grow people's interest in pro pickleball, and what I really like is the writing element of it. So people ask me how I do the videos. I script pretty meticulously. Like, I script everything word for word.
Do you use a teleprompter?
I do use a teleprompter.
Okay.
Yeah. I script everything word for word. Because honestly, the part that I like the most is the writing. Like, if I could just be a blogger or like an ESPN writer, like that's where I would be. Like, I don't feel like I need to be on camera, but in like, you know, today's day and age, you basically got to be on camera for your stuff to be out there. So I would say the stuff that I like the most, I love writing. I love finding, you know, a different way to look at whatever has happened. Okay, you know, Annalise signs with Nike. That's the news, but I like okay, what does this actually mean? That type of thing. What I don't like, I would say, is, I mean, just all of the elements of managing production. Fortunately, I mean, over the years, that has changed so many editors. You were my first editor, and that was great. I couldn't keep you because you're on to bigger and better things. And then I went through, you know, I had Pickleball Will, I had Lily, I had Spencer, and then I'm now doing stuff
I'm starting
with
to see.
Swing
I wonder if it
Productions.
was them or if it was you. Maybe
This is true.
they got tired of you.
I mean, that's probably. I like. Look, will not pretend to not be a hard ass about deadlines. Like, if we set a deadline, like, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Like, because for me, I wanted to create more content, but you have to have processes in place. If you're missing deadlines all the time, you can't build any systems around that. And I want to do what I want to do, which is the writing and the filming, right? I don't want to be managing every other bit and element of that. So
I think that's also really smart, because one of the things, like, as a content creator for myself, like coming from someone who started with the camera and the editing background and all of that, is like, there are elements that I really don't want to give up, and like maybe I should, right? Like, Aizec has been taking over way more of the filming. I don't have to pick up a camera nearly as much. I miss that sometimes. Sometimes I like picking it up. But like, editing is one of those things that I'm like, man, I really wish I didn't like doing this, but also it kind of feels like what makes the video a pickleball studio video. Sometimes, like, Aizec does do some of it, and I usually clean it up. But like, if I could just give that up, holy cow, the amount of time I would have back. But what I'm finding for myself is like, I just enjoyed enough that I'm like, I don't think I can actually get rid of this.
sure.
So I'm like capped time-wise in some sense because of that. And maybe one day I'll give it up, but
Yeah, I feel it. And that's probably some degree of me with the script writing,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't want to give that up. I like that. You know, I'm sure I could have ChatGPT help me, or have somebody do some element of ghost writing or whatever, but like, no, I like that. I script those word for word. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I just want to try and get the interesting things that are happening out to the people in a timely basis. And this year I've really ramped up the short stuff, like trying to get my 2 cents out on something, you know, within a day or so of it.
You know, one of the things actually, so as I took this break in January and just seeing some of your shorts, I was like, you know, I've been writing down a lot of stuff throughout the month. Like, what do I want to change going forward? Like, what are things that like maybe I'm holding on to in our process that like I think is the right way to do it, but like is actually just holding us back for no reason. And one of the things I really like about what you're doing is one, like, first of all, they don't look bad in any way, but like production value is like not the same as like someone who does a film background, right? Like it's very quick, but like looks good enough. And I've always been like, man, like I got to make it that extra 10% better, but that adds 80% more time.
Right.
And looking at your stuff, I'm like, I actually should just be more like that. Like that gives the people what they want. Like if I look at last year, one of the things I really dropped the ball on towards the end of the year, which is partially because of the Chasing 5-0 series, is like I'm so meticulous about how long I review a paddle and all the things we do in production that what was actually happening is I was hurting the audience, and I was so slow to certain paddle reviews that people were like, dude, like I wanted to hear from you, but I actually just got it from someone else.
Right.
Like you were just too slow. And like while I feel like I was doing a service by being more thorough, which I think is good, people are just like, mostly what I want is speed. It's like, imagine if your stuff came out a week later than it does right now.
It wouldn't get any views, yeah.
No one cares. So actually watching some of your stuff, that kind of inspired me to be like, okay, how can you 80-20 this? Like you can still get most of what you were doing, but cut out that stuff that maybe people don't actually notice or care about.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I don't have that problem because like I'm not, you know, I don't know. My people make fun of me. I don't know what cameras I have. I don't know. I don't touch anything when I go into my little studio because I don't want to mess any of the settings up. Like they really have this idiot proofed for me so that I can go click record and talk and do the stuff that I'm good at. Right. So yeah, it's interesting because right now it does feel like, unfortunately, being first is very important, or being a close to first with a different take. And so my stance is I don't want to break news. I'm not a journalist. I am an opinion columnist, right? News is broken. I am there to give my 2 cents on it in a, you know, somebody that the audience, I guess, trusts.
Yeah.
But that being said, if you aren't quick, they've already heard potentially bad or not trustworthy advice 3 times by the time you're there. So you do almost owe it to them to be a little bit quicker in some places. Not just yourself, because, you know, obviously the quicker you get it out, the more views you get or more affiliate codes you get, whatever that is, but also to spare them potential bad advice of somebody else. So.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. So I think hopefully, like, as we adopt, I know it's going to be hard for me to shake because I've even thought this before, and it's just like old mentality where I'm like, oh man, like production value like matters, and I think it does matter. I think that's helped us get to where we are. Like, I'm not saying I want to get rid of all of it, but definitely just certain things that it's like, yeah, you think you're helping people with this, but like,
well, I think that's also something I've realized in a difference between news versus something that's evergreen. I think something that's evergreen, like, yes, you know, produce it really nicely because, you know, if somebody hasn't seen this for 6 months, it's something that might live on for years. It's not time sensitive, but stuff that is time sensitive is time sensitive. You got to get it out within some period of time, right?
Yeah.
After the event happens.
I want to know, back a long time ago when we talked, your old social media strategy was post and ghost.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm out. Now that you're into content, because I feel like every content creator goes through this, you want to read the comments. You're like, do people like what I said? Do I need to adjust anything? Do you still take the same strategy, or are you more invested in comments and like interacting?
I'm genuinely trying. Like, you know, I would love to still kind of post and ghost. And I do interact with comments that I feel like are really thoughtful. Or, you know, saying stuff in a different perspective. So yeah, I mean, like I used to completely post and ghost and just not care. Now I post and I read or at least skim pretty much everything, and I try to interact with the stuff that I think like offers a different perspective or whatever. But yeah, when people give me crappy comments, like I honestly interact with those a lot too because I find them so entertaining. Like I genuinely don't get like upset if somebody's ripping on me.
I'm impressed by that, because that is a skill. Even as someone who's done content for so long, there are definitely still comments that I'm like, yeah, that's probably going to ruin my afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, like I've definitely had days where like I'll read a comment before bed and I'm like, wow, I'm just like, I'm mad now.
Man, I find it just entertaining that, like, you know, somebody, and I usually kind of troll them back a little bit. Like, if somebody's a real dick to me, I usually just kind of give them a little troll comment, or I'll be like, yep, I'm an asshole, like whatever that is. I was just like, it's, you know, do I have this much of an effect on somebody's day where they need to like say something like nasty? I'm like, okay, this person must be miserable. Like,
Sure.
So I don't know.
I do think there's elements of that. Like, I definitely think about that. Like, oh, what is the type of person who would, because I've never watched a video and once thought, well, I'm going to let this guy know I hate him. Like, I'm leaving you.
That's
never
true.
Once, never even thought about it.
That's a good point.
But I think for me, the reason it annoys me sometimes is it depends what it is, right? Like, I think if I put a lot of work, and like, for example, we go back to some of the discussion about things I do as a reviewer, that I think there are a lot of people who either maybe don't think about it, or they go, whatever, it doesn't matter, I can do whatever I want. It's like when someone calls in and is like, oh, like clearly this guy's a shill, like he's bought out, like he's only doing it for the money. It's like, dude, if you only knew that I'm actually like hurting myself revenue wise by some of the decisions I'm making, it's like how are you gonna leave that comment? But I guess they don't know that. So, but it still just annoys me, because it's like, man, I put so much work into this. Like, I don't think you get it.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest one, is when something's just like, you just know is not true, but there's, you know, it's your word, right? And 99.99% of the people on your channel like probably live and die by your word, because you've built so much trust in them. But then this guy has no idea.
Yeah.
I will say, like, something that did bother me in comments somewhat recently was the whole Chris Callie situation. Are you familiar with that?
A little bit. Was this the whole thing where like recently they like again revoked him from being able to make content about PPA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Chris Callie and I like Chris's content. In fact, like I had given him the idea for Hooks of the Week, which was like a great segment of his. Like, we've texted, we always got along. And so he got his ability to use footage revoked around the time that I got my ability to use footage from them. Right. And so
I'm gonna guess
people
what the
are saying
comments
like, oh, Zane is Big Pickle and got Chris Callie canceled. I'm like, so anyway, it's like, there's nothing I can say to that, because then it's kind of like the, thou doth protest too much type of situation. And it just kind of bothered me, because there was nothing I could do. I couldn't control anything of it. But then I realized, oh wait, there's actually nothing I can do.
Why do I care?
Why do I care? Right.
Yeah.
So it did bother me for a little bit. And I'm like, wait, there's nothing I can do. And also, first off, I kind of knew that would fade over some amount of time. And then also, like, now I'm pretty sure he's getting his PPA license back. So like,
he's getting it back?
He's getting it back. I'm like, all right, that was rough for a little bit, but
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, then that all works itself out. But yeah, I mean, it would suck to be like, you're getting attributed to something that you're like, dude, I literally I'm just sitting over here.
Nothing to do. I just wanted to make good content.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And using PPA clips obviously makes the content better.
I feel like the internet is always looking for something just to like be upset about. Like, I remember there was such a funny one. I saw this Reddit post, like maybe this was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But whatever one of the Pro XR paddles was, like, not the most recent ones, maybe the ones before that, I can't even remember. I was really slow to getting a review done. Had a bunch of other stuff. I think I was traveled or injured or something. I don't know. And I was really late. And there was this random Reddit thread that just started talking about like, oh, I heard that like Pro XR heard it was going to be a bad review. So they told Chris like, oh, just don't publish it. And they're like talking about all these things. And I'm like, literally the company doesn't even know what I'm going to say about this. And like, and then I don't know. It was like this whole crazy thing. Like Chris is paid out to not talk about it. And I'm like, dude, I've never been shy about telling you a paddle's bad. I'm like, I don't know where you guys get this from. Like,
people
this is
just
crazy.
Make crap up. Like,
and I think stuff like that annoys me too, because it's like, how do you just make this up? Right.
Right.
Like, it's just crazy to me. But yeah, you can't do anything about it. So
yeah, what can you do?
It is what it is, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm really impressed with your ability to like crank out content right now. And I think especially because you're still doing the pro tour stuff, like I got a glimpse of what it was like at the end of 2025 doing Chasing 5.0 and how hard it was to balance all the paddle reviews and everything I was doing. And I was like, dude, even if just the traveling alone is insane to me. I did the last 5 PPA tournaments of the year, and I did have locals in between that, so I was competing almost every weekend. Like, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, I'm far more impressed by what you guys do now after experiencing some of that.
Sure. Yeah. And it's been, 5 years at this point too. It's like you start to just get, I think if you only do it for like a little stretch, that's the abnormal, right? You're out of your routine. But when you do it so much, travel becomes part of the routine. And so I wouldn't say it's easy. Like I would, I love talking to you, but I'd rather be sitting at home with my wife and my dogs.
Yes, absolutely.
But something I try to do is like when I'm on the road, do as much work as possible. Like, cause there's plenty of downtime. I'm pretty good about like, hey, if I have time between matches, I'm going off site, I'm going to work. Like I'm going to write, I'm going to do whatever it is I need to do so that I can be a little bit more present when I'm actually home. And so, I definitely prioritize trying to get as much done as possible on the road and, still try and get a workout in, still try to eat the way that I want to eat, practices, play, work. And so, on a tournament day, I'm probably, I guess, working like 14 hours.
That's crazy.
Like,
is it ever hard for you to turn that off? Like a skill that I've had to develop is at some point being like, brain, like you're done with this. Like we're going to chill now. And like historically I've been very bad about this. Like I just like can't stop thinking about work. And I feel like you would be in a similar spot. Like you're essentially an entrepreneur building all these different things. You have been for a while. Like, how does that feel like turning it off when you're at home or when you need to like play matches and you're like, but also there's content waiting to be made or whatever other thing, maybe a sponsorship deal.
Yeah. I guess, I think we just, first off, I don't chill. I don't really chill. So like most of the time, the way that I actually like turn off is by doing something else. Like if I'm sitting around and we're watching a show, my mind is going to be in work. Like I don't chill. I don't turn off in that way. But like, so when I am trying to relax, like I would be an absolute nightmare at an all-inclusive resort. I would drive everybody there insane. I'd be like, when are we going for the hike? When are we doing this? When are we doing that? Like I'm your worst nightmare at an all-inclusive.
Sure.
Because it's not how I relax. I don't relax by like chilling, laying on the beach. Like in order for me to slow my mind down, I got to be doing something. I love riding my bike, right? Because you have to kind of focus on that in order to not crash and die.
True.
Right? Like I shut down that part by basically doing something else.
I see. And even while you're doing, because like I find there are activities I like doing and are a good like, distraction for me. But a lot of times I'm like, maybe it's because a lot of my things are at a computer. Like if I'm playing some video games, it's like very easy for me to be like what's happening over here? Like what are people talking about over here? And it's like, I'm still half in, half out. And that's kind of what I'm learning is to clean up that last little bit. But I find it's just very interesting that like people who are in this or do something more entrepreneurial, turning that off is usually like not very easy.
Yeah. You know what? Something I've actually found helps recently too is like I'm really trying to batch my communications. Meaning like
I'm working on that too.
I'm inbox 0 in the morning and in the evening. Like I'm very type A, but I'm like hardly responding to anybody from the time that I answer my text messages, which is probably like 6:15 in the morning, to the time that I answer them the second time, which is maybe like 6:30 in the evening.
Does that ever cause you any trouble? Like you miss something important?
I'm scanning. I'm like, okay, does this need to be like, if I've got a couple minutes, like I'll kind of look through.
Sure.
But I do find that like switching between tasks, everybody says this, but everybody thinks they can multitask. And I still obviously do probably more than I should, but I'm far more efficient and far more easy to feel like, okay, I'm done when I'm not constantly like checking Discord or, or other stuff.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't go on social media very much. It's, for me, it's just checking I actually run all of my content and editing stuff now through Discord chats. Like with my team I find
sure.
it like a way better version of like Slack or Teams.
Yeah.
But like we'll have 10 different scripts going on. So like I've got a guy editing from Vietnam. So like I literally could be answering people in this Discord chat 24/7.
Yeah.
And the days where I'm very active on that are the days where like I feel like I didn't get anything done, and that's where I feel like my mind is still on it afterwards.
Sure. Yeah, that was one of the things over this break that I was kind of realizing for myself is like I'm giving a lot of people my time that I'm doing it because like, oh, I want to be helpful to them. But then I'm like, you're also doing this to the detriment of yourself. Like if you do it for everyone, you're only hurting yourself. And so like for a while, I thought it would be selfish to like not respond quickly. But I'm like, it's also kind of wild if you think about it. Like the way we live now is like instant communication all the time. People pick up. But it's like, I don't actually know that it should be that way besides like immediate family.
Sure.
You know, like they should always probably be able to contact you. But like everyone else is like, you don't need to call me at 9 p.m.
Or something urgent, right?
Yeah, of course.
There's nothing I hate more than, hey, do you have 5 minutes? I'm just never answering that text message.
Yeah.
Unless it's somebody I really need to answer. Like, unless it's like a big boss or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think we're at a similar state as there's just like, there is so much volume. And if you let everybody in, you will not even have your own identity, right? Yeah. It was just hard to let go of because like I'm inbox zero. I respond to everybody. Like I can't do it on socials, but definitely been good to focus on like what's most important for me. And I think the people who really care about you or you're really close with, they also understand. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
They're the ones that matter.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find, so as we joked about this a little bit earlier, but like more on a serious note, like as you've been making more content, as the pro game has gotten like new talent coming in, and like while you're still progressing, like the game is growing faster than you, does that feel frustrating? Or now that you have like, you're doing content, is it like, oh, I get to enjoy it through this new lens? Because for me, when this happened in speed cubing, it was actually very frustrating. Like I was like, I don't like not being able to either be the best or keep up with these people anymore. And as I faded more and more, I think it was like so much of my identity that it was just like, I almost felt like I was like losing a bit of part of myself. Like for you, does it feel frustrating being like, oh, I used to be able to like make semifinals or quarterfinals, and now like there are rounds where like I lose in an early round? Or is it like, I don't really care?
No, it's not that. I definitely don't not really care. Like I always go in there and want to win, and I'm always pretty pissed when I lose. But I guess I did have even when I was chasing my goals early in the career of like being number one in singles or doubles, I knew from the time that I became a pro pickleball player that there would be a time where I couldn't be a pro pickleball player. And so it's always been like, I'm going to ride this for as long as it's fun. And, if I'm having fun, I don't care what the results are. Like, obviously it's great to win. But I knew it, like, no matter how good you get at something, there is going to be a time where you are not competitive anymore. Like, I just think about like LeBron. He's still in the NBA, but he probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, maybe that's a harsh statement, but like, he's clearly not the LeBron that he used to be. Just humble flex calling myself LeBron. Because it's a LeBron comparison over here. But
great comparison.
So like in a weird way, like, I think I was very just always aware that this would happen at some point. It's not shocking to me. Like, it's not shocking to me.
Yeah.
So
you were kind of prepped for it.
From the beginning,
yeah.
Right? From the beginning, I knew there would be a time where I've got to, hang it up and, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like I focus on being the best player that I can be, and I do think I'm getting better, just not relative to other people.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
So actually, I think I'm dealing with it well, and I'm really am finding enjoyment in the content side of things.
Plus, it can have a lot more longevity in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Then, hanging a pro career. What's most people's pro career? Like, maybe not even 10 years, Like, maybe that.
Yeah, I mean, like, the coolest part is I still get to be around pickleball. Like, I still love everything about pickleball. I still love playing pickleball. I still, train hard and trying to improve. but I still get to do cool pickleball stuff, and I'm never going to not do pickleball stuff, even if I'm, when I retire from playing. So, which everybody's going to be stuck with me for another couple of years. So I'm playing. I'm doing a bunch more of the international tournaments as well. So
those will be fun to see, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll make a lot of great content out of those as well.
yeah, I did a vlog from Malaysia. It was not very good, but
Yeah, you
but-
live and learn.
Yeah, exactly. I got another one from Vietnam coming out, but I got a cool little Osmo thing that I did it all on my phone, and sometimes it was vertical and sometimes it was
Oh, yeah, that's
horizontal,
bad.
and I didn't have a mic, so
Yeah, this is guy's still learning.
you're so cringing right now.
Yeah, I'm dying on the inside for sure. As someone who sets the bar higher than they need, hearing that the bar was there, that's whew. But you know what? You still made the content, which is sometimes better than what I do. So that's
Yeah.
good. But no, I think it's just interesting to see that, as I've seen you get more and more in the content, I can see you clearly like it a lot. So I'm sure there are people too who are just wondering did it get worse because of content, or is it just the game just got way better? And
No, I've been getting worse before content.
Content ruins everyone. Content ruins everyone. We need someone to prove content creators can be good.
Okay, fair enough. We had Christian for a little while.
That's true, but then he stopped and he got better. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
man.
Maybe Kyle Kazuda can save us. Maybe.
That's true.
Maybe. He's still going up, it seems. So
So what going back to your wanting to get stuff out a little bit quicker, are you going to get into more shorts on hey, here's my 30-second take. I just hit with this new paddle. Here's my first impression.
yeah, I think there will be more of that. And for example, whenever there was a period last year where I actually did make a lot more shorts, and I was just looking at over a lot of those. And when I made them, I was like, I'm not that happy with it. Not because the information I thought was bad, but I was like, I probably could have just made a better short. I went back and looked at the views, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I should have been cranking these out way faster. And even what's funny is I go back on Instagram, and some of the ones that I would call an objectively as crappy video as Chris Olson could ever make, which is literally me holding the
They're
paddle
all
like
crappy.
this. Zane would say so. But it's literally just me holding the paddle, pointing my phone, and just talking. I did that on a couple of Adidas paddles and a few others. The views on those were crazy. And I was like, okay, clearly I think if the content is timely and it's something people want to see about, I don't think they care about how well it's produced. Maybe a little bit. It can't be so bad, right? But that kind of made me go, wow. Why aren't you just doing more of these? It's so easy I could crank out 10 shorts of some of these paddles and just talk about it, right? That's what people really at the end of the day want. So yeah, I definitely want to experiment more with shorts. And I think some of our long form videos, finding ways to strip those down a little bit. If I take a first impressions that was going to be a long form, my usual process probably would have been, I want 3 sessions on this paddle. So that's 3 separate days. We're going to take gameplay from those, put all of those in. We'll also put some B-roll of the paddle in. We'll probably do some graphics. And when I really think about what a first impression is, people want the information quickly. Sure, seeing me hit is nice. A lot of people have said they don't want to see that go away. But do I need 3 sessions to give a first impression? No, I could probably do that
Yeah.
after an hour. So
Right.
why am I handicapping myself? Because I was like, I need the first impression to be extra thorough.
Do you really? So yeah, what if you're doing a full review on a paddle? How many hours would you put on a paddle before you're comfortable putting a video out?
If it was a paddle that there was nothing really that interesting or notable as I was using it, probably a week and a half was my minimum in the past.
And so what is
Normal
week
would
and
have
a
been
half-
2 weeks to a month.
week and a half? Okay, what is week and a half in terms of play hours? I'm asking play hours, right? Because a week and a half is kind of arbitrary.
Sure.
How many times did you play? For how long? Were you using other paddles?
Yeah, that would have been probably 2 to 2.5 hours for 7 times. So, 15 to 20 hours is probably
That's
what
crazy.
the paddle would have got. But for example, the Bread and Butter Loco, when I finished a review on that, I probably had 60 hours on that. I
Wow.
absolutely did not need 60 hours on that paddle.
That's nuts.
So that's where I'm like,
So okay, sorry.
Yeah.
How far off? So obviously you got to talk about durability, but durability, let's take that out of the conversation.
Mhm.
How quickly does it take you to actually have a first impression? Meaning, and also okay, how much does your impression of a paddle change half an hour into hitting versus 20 hours into hitting, right? Like how much does it actually change over that time?
I think sometimes it depends on the paddle. There have definitely been paddles that caught me by surprise the more I played with them, or maybe I found a weight setup that was good.
Break in or whatever.
But let's take abnormalities out of it. Most of the time, it doesn't actually change that much. Like, for example, I went and played the qualifier with the new paddle that Deckel is using.
Is that the jelly? That's not the jelly bean.
No, not the jelly bean. Yeah, they made a whole new like foam paddle, so it's something entirely new. But that, like, I blind played that into the qualifier, and I felt comfortable having a first impression after basically 4 games with it. And realistically, I think what I'm learning, I now know more about myself, is like 1 to 2 play sessions, easy. 1 play session, I can easily have a first impression. But I think in my mind, I was like, your audience wants you to do all this extra due diligence. And I built it up in my head to the point where I was like, if you don't do this, people are going to like think you're a fraud or you're making it up or whatever. Like, I was essentially just making things up in my head, making it worse than it actually was. The reality is like, I should probably have a review done within a week. Because it doesn't, the only thing after a week that changes is probably durability.
Durability. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious because I feel like when I pick up a paddle, like, I feel like I can play test a paddle with the exceptions of the ones that like break in a ton or whatever. I think I've got a good sense of a paddle within a game.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I mean,
I would say probably pretty similar here.
Yeah.
But I think it was just one of those like, oh man, if you don't do it, like this is how you've always done it. So people will be like upset. And that's just like, that's what I meant earlier when I was saying like these things that I have believed, but they're actually not serving anything. They're actually hurting the people I'm trying to help and they're hurting me.
Yeah. You should just do Chris's quick takes. Like, hey, first day with this. This is my, I mean, that's going to be a great series. This is my impression of after 1 day of hitting.
Yeah.
People would love that.
Totally. And that's the type of stuff that I want to start doing because it's like, why are we not doing this? Like, and I don't want people to like misunderstand. Like, I still think longer, more thorough stuff is good. I just don't think every paddle needs to be that.
Yeah.
There are paddles that deserve it and some that don't.
And I think there's like, I mean, honestly, it probably even makes your long form video better because it's like, this is what I thought right away, but here's how it changed.
Yes.
Yeah, you didn't ask my opinion, but I think you should have a first impression, first day of hitting, and that's your series.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Obviously, there's stuff that you do have to do, like how does it break in, how's the durability, all that stuff. That's super super important. Mm-hmm. But for the sake of timeliness, like I think you'll crush that.
Yeah, for sure. So those are some of the things I'm gonna change. It's just like, I don't know, it didn't need to be that way.
But if you're upfront with people, like, which you are, hey, this is my first day of hitting.
Yeah.
They understand the parameters. They understand that can change.
Actually,
right?
Here's a great example. So first impressions kind of became a thing last year. I even surveyed it with my newsletter. I was like, hey, what do you guys think of this format? I think the first video was 11 minutes, and so many people were like, I love the video. I thought it was great. If we're going to get more of these quicker, keep doing them. But they were like, a first impression that's 11 minutes? Like, shouldn't this be like 5 minutes? Like, you're doing this like it's a review, bro.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. But it was like, I just couldn't convince myself to go lower than that. So, like, I think most of the first impressions last year, they were probably about 3 sessions. And it's like, why? Like, just doesn't need to be. So,
yeah, that's a straight up review.
yeah,
that's a review.
It probably is a straight up review at that point, for sure. Well, I guess I don't know if you have any other thoughts just about content that you want to go into before we hop into some Q&A stuff, or if you have another topic that you think is interesting, but otherwise we can pop over to that.
Let's go Q&A.
All right. Again, most of these ended up being jokes.
I love it.
Maybe there's some serious ones on my phone, which I'll pull up, but first one, how can you get Chris to a 5-0?
What religion are you?
Christian.
Prayers. No, you should. Okay, so are you still gonna do that series, or?
I am. It's probably gonna be a little different this year. It'll be a little less tournament focused. I have some new ideas for it, but yeah, I will definitely keep doing it.
Let's do. We should do like a virtual lesson, something like that. I mean, I've done a couple with Aizec, so anytime you want to do that, like, let me know.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I was expecting so much more of a roast from you. I was expecting it can't happen.
I gave you the roast and then I gave you the serious answer.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, dude, anytime. I mean, like, it'd be great. I think great content for my channel too. Like, if you are up for that, or if you just want to be buddies, I'm happy to give you. You know, Aizec and I didn't put anything out there. It was just good advice. So
we should try. I think that'd be good content for both of us.
yeah, don't worry. I've already got a match analysis going of your qualifiers. So
Do you have that video? Are you actually doing an analysis of this?
I think so. I've got to get the process in place, but
Yeah.
people really liked my match analysis videos.
Yeah.
They didn't get that many views, but they got like so many comments of like, this is awesome. And the viewer retention was like really good. It was like people are watching like 70% of these videos.
That's awesome.
But nobody's clicking on them was the problem. I'd have like a 3% click rate. And like, if you guys aren't YouTube nerds, like a lot of
That's
my
pretty low.
videos are like within the first couple days, they're like 10, 15%. And then they usually drop to like 8 or 6%. Nobody clicks on these match analysis videos, but once they do, they freaking watch the whole thing and they love them. But they were taking me and my team probably 40 hours to like make one of these. We've got a real nice setup where I can kind of go through it live, and so not live. I think the goal is actually to eventually live stream these, but we've got to figure that out. So anyway, I want to get back into the match analysis videos, and I think that'd be a fun one to do.
Just put Chris Olson sucks in the title. You know, that click-through rate will be elite.
There we go. That's how we do it.
This guy reviews paddles? I'd be so curious to see what you would say about that match. There were definitely coming off after playing pickleball like 3 times in all of January and going straight into that. It didn't go as bad as I thought. It was actually quite a bit better than I thought, but definitely could have played better that match. That's for sure.
Yeah, real quick question. How was your break? I know you took a little bit of time off to just recharge.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel recharged? Was it enough break? How long of a break did you take?
Yeah, I probably got about, what I've learned about myself is I always say it's going to be a full month. It's never a full month because I eventually just start itching to work. Like I did so much planning and reflecting on the prior year and what things we needed to do better and some new targets to try and hit. And after a certain point, you're just like, dude, I need to just actually go do something. And I took care of like things around the house that I wanted to do. There were like lingering projects that were like, these need to get done, but you never want to do them because you're in the middle of work season. So I think it's really important. Like, I think for most people, especially people who do kind of what we do, you just don't, time off is not really a thing. And so I think having some intentional time off to like chill and reflect on like what's going well, what's not going well, what are other things in my life that maybe I need to put a little more focus on is like a very good thing. Like I think I've put a lot of energy into one bucket and there are probably some other buckets I need to like fill a little bit more. So it was nice. Like, I think it was for the first week, I did basically nothing except stuff around the house. And then I was like, okay, I got to start planning. And now I'm at the point, because it's January 20th. And now I'm like, yeah, I got to work. Like when you were telling me, you were like, oh, dude, we don't have to record it. Like, I know you're still on your break. I'm like, dude, I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to do it. All right.
Like, let's just do it. Like, have you ever found for yourself, like, I mean, you've been doing traveling pickleball for a long time. You ever just like, you guys don't really get an off season except like December-ish.
Yeah.
Like, how do you handle it?
I mean, I carved out a little bit. So, like, unfortunately, I got injured for Worlds. So that I had a long off season. So, because I wasn't playing the 2 December tournaments anyway, because I was trying to carve that out. So, I think I'm the same way. Like, I get bored after probably like 10 days, 2 weeks. And I think those 10 days of boredom were like super, super needed. But I was ready to get back after it.
I actually think what I found for me is like, and people say this a lot online, but like boredom is actually like a very helpful thing. Like
100%.
I found when I start taking away screens at certain times during the day or especially at night, like the things I'm not motivated to do, once I take away like whatever my source of entertainment is, I'm like, well, I might as well just go do this because what am I going to do? Sit here and do nothing?
Do the dishes, do whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I think boredom is, in a day where everyone, like for me, this is how I normally operate. If I'm cleaning dishes, podcast. If I'm driving, music or podcast. If I'm doing anything other than working, music or podcast. Like there's no like gaps for you to just sit and think. So yeah. All right. This one would have been funnier with Aizec, but he's not here now. But it was, who do you think has the correct take? Aizec with elongated or Chris with a wide body?
Oh, neither. Hybrid.
You know what? That's the best answer we can ask for. Hybrid's closer to me, so I'll take it. Aizec still hates hybrids. I like hybrids, so we'll take it. This one was funny. How come he never answers questions on Instagram? Almost like he's gotten too big to be bothered.
Who, me?
Yeah, you, not me.
I get too many of them. I don't know. I don't really answer questions. I mean, I attempt to, but yeah.
In your defense, I don't think people realize how hard it is to keep up with all the DMs, especially because most of the time it's a question that then needs a follow-up. Like, even for me, I can't respond to them all. I try, but I can't. Like, I've just accepted that I can't do it because I'd go crazy. There's no time.
I mean, there was a period last year where I was responding to all the DMs and I didn't even do the comments either. I mean, DMs alone across platforms was taking me an hour per day.
Yeah.
And I'm like efficient. Like I do voice to text. Like I crank those out very, very quickly. And that isn't talking about the probably 200 comments I have across platforms on different things. Like for me to answer everything in a given day has got to be at least 3 hours of work.
I mean, it would be a part-time job for someone.
And then also when you answer, there's always a follow-up like you mentioned. So that's just going through it once is at least 3 hours of work on a given day. And it's like, I really wish that I could. It's like, yeah, I would never be able to do anything.
You wouldn't
again,
get any work done. You wouldn't make any new content.
So I do try to chime in. Like I try to read. I try to chime in if somebody's got something clever or whatever. So I'm sorry, guys. I really wish there were little clones of me. I did try at a certain point. I got pretty into AI, and I tried so hard to download So I did actually do this. I downloaded every script I'd ever written, threw it into a custom GPT and tried to train it in my voice. And then I was started going through comments and like, what would the custom GPT say? That does not sound like me at all. I spent like probably 30 hours trying to do this so that I could, and I was always going to like proofread it and just maybe copy and paste. It was trash.
Yeah.
So I wish there was another me to, be my social media manager, I guess.
I agree. I'm right there with you. It's a lot. Here's a good one. Who would win in a singles match? Zane, left-handed only, or Chris with an original Adidas metal bone?
Oh boy. Yeah.
I would have said me too, but I don't know how good you are left-handed.
I'm not good left-handed. I'm probably a 4-0, if that.
Okay, I'd feel reasonably confident, even with a metal bone, which would be brutal, that I could probably do it.
The metal bone's got to be a meme at this point. How do you not have a metal bone up there just for meme purposes?
You know what's funny? I actually did just have one in here, and there was a ton, way more paddles in here. They were everywhere. And then I was like, these need to be moved to the shed. And the metal bone, I was like, yeah, this one's not getting touched. So I was like, we'll move it. But you're right. There should be at least one on the wall just for honor.
How many... Okay, so I've got questions for you now.
All right.
I'm sure you've probably answered this before, but how many paddles do you think you currently possess?
Probably 500 to 600-ish. Probably about that.
Do you get rid of them ever? Or do you
I donate a lot of them.
You don't? Oh, that's what you get. That's what you do them with?
Yeah, like I try and only do it locally because I don't want to ship paddles because I think they get expensive and time-wise it's a little annoying. But like if there are any schools in Minnesota that want to like come pick up paddles from you got a youth program or something, like please, I'll give you paddles happily.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And that's once I know I'm like never gonna need that again. Sometimes you need it for a follow-up review or something. But yeah, there's just a lot that I know I'm never gonna touch. So
yeah. Fair enough. Interesting. Yeah, I was just curious. How many do you think so that's how many you currently possess. How many paddles do you think have touched your hands over the time you've been doing this?
Probably it has to be over 1,000. Like, I mean, it's got to be 1,000 plus for sure.
Yeah, if you've got 500 now and you've been donating them, I would guess.
I do think in the last couple of years it's ramped up for like a handful of reasons. Like more companies are doing all three shapes. Sometimes they send duplicates so we can do like better testing and stuff like that. In the past, it was like one paddle, one shape, and now the companies are like, okay, we have to do hybrid widebody elongated.
Well, also, there's currently 4,915 USAP approved paddles.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like there's 143 UPA-A approved paddles. Yeah. This is as of the moment that I wrote this script last week over the weekend. So I looked that up. I'm like, man, it's only accelerating too, right? Like I said, I used to be able to keep up with everything that was going on in paddle technology. I do not even attempt to try anymore.
Even as someone who their only job is reviewing paddles, I can't get to all of them. Maybe with like these quick take formats, I could cover a lot more and, get most of the relevant ones. But like, it's impossible. The companies far outweigh the amount of reviewers that there are. So it's kind of crazy. Who would win in an arm wrestle?
Between us?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
We could find
Let's
this out
find
right
out.
now.
Oh boy. God, if I lose this podcast over, just so you know.
All right. this one, hang on, I gotta put the iPad.
This is gonna be embarrassing for both of us.
It is gonna be embarrassing for both of us. Can we reach like this? Do we need to turn the table maybe? I think we have to turn the table.
Do you think so?
We'll go. Okay, sure. We'll go like this. Okay.
Right. Do we go 1, 2, 3, go?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go. 2, 3, go.
I'm gonna do that. I think it's a tie.
This is a tie. All right, that's a tie.
You know,
I did not see that coming.
I didn't
That was
see
a straight up deadlock.
so I think we're both just weak, is what that means.
I think so. If that's not the hook of this podcast, what are we doing here?
But I think that's actually worse for you because you've definitely been in the gym more than me in the last 4 years.
Probably. I can't put on muscle worth a damn. So
You got to eat more, bro.
apparently,
We'll revisit this again in 4 years.
yeah. Let's do our what would every 4 years? It's not biannual, triannual, quadriannual,
whatever
podcast that we do.
That's hilarious. Well, okay. Yeah, I did not do this on purpose, but that was a perfect follow-up question. What's your diet or conditioning look like for pickleball? Whatever it is, it's not very good if we tie.
Diet. I would say at least this year, just trying to eat like real food. So I think people this is just my 2 cents. I'm not a dietitian. This is my 2 cents. I think people overcomplicate nutrition, like superfoods, whatever it is. I was really into that for a period of time. I tried to take a step back. I'm like, all right, is that a real piece of food or not? So I'm basically trying to eat like fruits, vegetables, nuts, meat. That's about it.
How often do you like eat out like fast food? Like that just would be like, this is objectively bad for me.
Like junk food? Like
Junk food, like McDonald's, something like that.
sure. I mean, last year much more. This year I've been good with my New Year's resolution, so I haven't had any sweets. I've broken that diet a little bit. Like, I mean, I've had some bread and stuff. That's more of a guideline, I suppose. But I am like a crackhead for sugar. So like I can't do moderation on sugar. Like I'm either like
all forms of sugar.
Basically, yeah. I mean, like mostly like sweets, right? Like candy, ice cream, whatever that is. Like fruits and stuff, it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm kind of all or nothing on that, and so my diet right now is like just real stuff for the most part.
On that same note, how's your sleep?
Good. I got an Oura ring. I sleep. This pisses my wife off because she's not a good sleeper. I've always been a good sleeper. I feel like my Oura ring score is in like the 90s every single time.
Nice.
Do you have one of those?
I have a Whoop.
A Whoop?
Yeah.
Do you have like a metric like that or?
They have a sleep score. It's actually fun. So over my break, that was one of the things I really focused on because I just everywhere if you read anything about like trying to be a better athlete or perform better for like even just work, everything it's always sleep. And I was finally like, you know what? If enough people say it, maybe I should take my sleep a little more serious. So like over January, I was a lot more strict about no meal 4 hours before bed. Red light glasses at night, no screen an hour before bed, read a book, try to go to bed at the same time. And I tracked like all the differences for some of these things. The biggest one was for sure no meal 4 hours before bed. Like that had the biggest impact and sleeping more consistently. But immediate, like I saw immediate like uptrend. And then the few times that I broke it, immediate downtrend. Like it was like so clearly correlated and seeing how different I feel doing it. I'm like, it will absolutely be like way more of a priority than it's ever been, which is why I wanted to ask is because, you're traveling a lot, like different time zones. Like that's got to be hard just to like adapt sleep wise all the time.
Yeah. I mean, something that's really helped me over the years with sleep. I learned this on an Andrew Huberman podcast. That like people used to think that sleep, and maybe I'm butchering this, I don't know. So don't take this as gospel. Go listen to the Andrew Huberman podcast if you care. But people used to think that sleep was just quantity and quality, but it's not. It's quantity, quality, and regularity, or like schedule. And so like something that I go to bed pretty much around the same time, somewhere between 9 and 9:30 every night, and I wake up at 5:30 all the time. It does not matter what happens. Like I will wake up at 5:30.
And that's enough sleep for you? Because that's what, like...
That's 8.
Oh.
8 hours.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is 8. Never mind. Yeah,
But
that's plenty.
Even if I, for whatever reason, stay up, with a friend till midnight, I stay on the 5:30 schedule for wake up. Maybe that's not healthy, but like for me, like having that consistency, I think is really good. And it helps me feel much more rested with the sleep that I get. In fact, I didn't get acclimated to California this last tournament for whatever reason. I guess I didn't really try. I didn't have a need to.
Oh, no. So were you up at like 3?
I was up at like 3 pretty much every day. I was like, wait, this is amazing. I need to do this in Austin. Like, nobody bothers me for like 4 hours in the morning. Like,
Dude,
it was great.
That's what I was learning is like, because I'm on a similar schedule as you. I'm probably going bed closer to 10 now and getting up around like 6. But dude, the early morning time, I'm like, there's no one to bother me. By the time it's 9 o'clock, I'm like, I feel like I've worked a full work day.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've knocked everything out I wanted to do. Now I got a whole day to do whatever I want, So I have just found like, especially the regulating like the time of sleep, because I heard the same thing as you. I was like, we'll see if that matters. It definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, dude, if I go to bed late and I still wake up at the same time, like I feel still quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same schedule I think is super important, and people sleep on that. No pun intended.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, sleep as a whole, I think the way society's just like kind of set up, it's like very easy for like sleep is put to the back burner. Like, oh, you need to work for your job, or like all these different things that like keep you awake, screens, whatever. Like I remember I was telling a friend about all this, and he was like, yeah, that just sounds like too much work. He's like, I couldn't do it. And I was just like, man, I wish you could feel how much better you'd feel, because like I didn't think any of it would be worth it until I saw how much better I felt.
Yeah.
And part of my logic was, and maybe it was like yours as like a pro athlete, like realistically, if I could hit 7 days a week, I would hit 7 days a week, because it would only benefit everything that I do. I could get way more testing done. But even at 5 days a week, that's hard for my body to maintain. And I was like, dude, if you want to do this for 5 more years, this is not optional. Like, you need to eat better, you need to sleep better, and you're probably going to need to be in the gym more. Like, otherwise your body's just going to fall apart, which is kind of what started to happen.
Oh, last year?
Yeah, I had a lot of like back problems that were pretty severe. So, but now most of that's gone. So
Good.
it's great.
Good.
It's great. Okay. Last one before I go to Instagram, just to see if there are any other good ones.
Okay, perfect.
I guess we kind of already went over this. It was funnier before we beat this joke to death the entire time. But it's like, they said, how does he stay relevant with the game changing so much? Is this why he isn't in many quarterfinals?
Quarterfinals, man. Quarterfinals.
That's like round of 64, man.
That's deep. That's a deep run. Yeah, we answered that a few different times. So
yeah, we don't need to go over that. But I saw it again. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. How has the PPA not tried to put a lid on his reporting, especially with the controversial topics? I don't even know what topics they'd be referring to, but clearly nothing's got you canceled yet.
Yeah, I think I have a very, very clear line, like I mentioned before. Like, I go out of my way to not break news. If I cannot find somebody else who's spoken about something or a source out there, I will not say it. And so people tell me stuff all the time. And so at that point, it just becomes, I'm not leaking stuff. I'm not, Jimmy Millering, who, somehow he hasn't gotten in trouble, because obviously I think anybody who's telling Jimmy something wants it to be leaked, right? So, I just give my opinion on what's happening, and I think it would backfire on, anybody if they try to silence it. I think I've been reasonable. Like, I think it's reasonable opinions, reasonable disagreements, and it's also not like these people are the devil. Like, it's here, I don't think they did this right. Here's what I thought would have been better. Let's move on.
So what made you want to do no rumors? Because I'm very similar to you. I don't really like talking about rumors, because I think like information can get muddy very fast and it only confuses people. So I try to stay away from that when I don't feel like there's good reason to like maybe talk about something like that. Is it a similar reason for you, or like what made you go, like that's not for me?
It's an interesting question. I mean, like, honestly, I think it was first off, kind of like you know, I see all these people, right? Like, I don't want to be, you know, digging up their dirty laundry. Like, I want to have good relationships with them, but like also, you know, I'll criticize players, I'll criticize tour, I'll criticize whatever, but also like, as you can see, like I'm a pretty straightforward person. So the other line that I have is I don't say anything on the camera that I wouldn't say sitting like this.
I
right?
agree.
Like I'm somebody who's like, I'm happy to, like, I love arguing. Like I'll give my 2 cents, whatever. And like, I still see you as like a buddy if we're disagreeing on something. In fact, I like that type of stuff. So maybe I'm a confrontational person a little bit by nature, just because I'm going to give my 2 cents on something, I suppose. So that's the other line. Like, I don't report on anything that's not already out there. I don't say anything I wouldn't say if the person was sitting across from me. Because I got to deal with all these people. Yeah. And also, like, I don't know. I've always found rumors to just be like gossip, like just a little just hacky.
Feels like
just,
almost trashy or something.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy it. Yeah. Which is funny because in high school, I was the king of rumors. Oh, so no. I was voted biggest drama queen in high school, but I did it purely for my entertainment. I would create the most ridiculous rumors, and I had a system. This girl here, she was the main gossiper. She would tell everybody, but I wouldn't go directly to her. I would go to her best friend, who was pretty quiet. So I go to this girl tells the gossiper tells everybody, and then it gets back to me, and I'm like, yeah, that was a good rumor.
So you clearly learned from your past life.
I just thought it was entertaining. It was just, honestly, that was way more trolling, which I still consider myself to be a little bit, than it was like actually anything about the rumors. It wasn't anything like
bad about the person.
Yeah, it was just something that would be like ridiculous, so that like nobody should actually believe.
Yeah, so it's almost more ridiculous that people believed it.
Yes, yeah, and that's the part that I found entertaining.
That is crazy. Who's your favorite Olson brother, and why? Hey, whoa! And why is it Aizec?
Is that from Aizec?
No, it wasn't. I actually don't know who that is. That's crazy.
Let's see.
They're not watching the pod anymore.
Are there any other options?
There's no other options, unfortunately.
I plead the fifth.
That was a smart answer. That's better than picking just Aizec. Dude, some of these questions in here don't even make sense.
Yeah, so guys, that's why we don't respond to you. That's why we don't respond to you guys.
This question is not even related to anything to you or whatever. We're moving on. That is insane. Nope, don't need that one. How did we all? Well, sure, we'll go over that. How did we become friends? I think it was just content, right?
I was actually wondering that. How did we first get together? Like, how did I even get you to first do my YouTube videos?
I don't know if it's because you came and taught a clinic at Lucky Shots. I know I didn't do it, but like if someone either linked us up.
I don't think I ever taught a clinic at Lucky Shots.
I know we shot the videos.
We shot there, yeah.
The only thing like I can maybe think, and I don't even know if this would have been it, but like I remember my first kind of like getting into pickleball, I made a whole breakdown video of the chainsaw serve, and that video kind of blew up. Yeah. And I wonder if at one point like maybe I messaged you to either ask a clarifying thing, and then maybe you saw the video and we just kind of talked more. But like the only thing I know is that the first time we ever met was because we were shooting content for you. But I don't know what the regular communication was.
I wonder if we could dig that up somehow.
Like on one of the like Facebook DMs or something like that.
I mean, how long do your text messages go back?
Oh, dude. I mean, text. I don't know that you and I have texted that much, but it would probably take a minute to go back.
Yeah, true.
If you're looking through that, I'll keep trying to find some. How many likes for Zane to play a tournament with Chris?
I don't think I'd be allowed to. Like, I would play a tournament with Chris. I would play a tournament with you. I think that'd be fun.
I mean, what would stop how would the PPA stop you from like playing a qualifier with me?
I'm not allowed to play qualifiers.
Oh, because of being a signed player? Yeah, but I thought there was something that like if you played with someone who didn't have enough points.
Yeah, you might be right.
That you had, because like, I mean, there are still some like semi-relevant pros that still have to like play the qualifier occasionally, right?
True. Actually, maybe I'm wrong on that. So how many likes?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
He's like 5.
10,000.
10,000. Dude, that would be insane. If this pod got 10,000 likes, we'd be doing more than a tournament, I think. Oh, interesting. Here's a fun one. Which content creator that is not a PPA pro would Zane partner up with for a tourney?
Which content creator? I gotta go with Nico the Lefty at this point.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Or Sean Munoz.
I don't know if I know him.
Oh, you know his content. What's his Instagram? He's got a
Wait, is he the guy with Volaire?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, dude, he's hilarious.
It's funny. Those were much less serious answers than I was expecting. I was thinking you'd be like Kyle or something. Like if you were like thinking about going deep, but I like those answers better. I think those answers are funnier.
So I mean, I guess the real options would be like Kyle and Tanner.
Yeah,
probably.
I suppose it's like high-level content creators that also play pickleball. Explain that why no one wants to buy the chefs and what this says about MLP team values. And if you can't talk about this, you don't have to talk about this.
Interesting. Why nobody wants to buy the chefs?
I didn't even know they were up for sale.
Yeah, no, the kitchen posted that. Why nobody wants to buy the chefs? I mean, like, you just don't know what the selling price is. What are they asking for, right?
Yeah.
Like, if they're asking, you don't know if they're asking for 30 million. You don't know if they can't unload it for $1 million, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
That's also that's a non-Premier League, right? Whatever the one don't even know.
It's Challenger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's hard to answer because I don't know the price. Like, are they just asking too much?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we did have an expansion team, the Palm Beach Royals, come in, and I think I can't remember if there was some press release on them paying in. I thought that they kept like around a $16 million team valuation
For a challenger team?
No. They get into Premier somehow. I don't know how that works.
Okay, interesting.
The new team.
Okay.
And I think they kept a 16 mil valuation, but I could be wrong on that. So
That's crazy to me because I'm just like seeing where MLP is, and like it doesn't really feel like there's been a lot of like big progression towards it becoming this like much bigger thing. Like $16 million for something that just seems like is all losing money for MLP. I'm like, how could it even possibly be that?
Oh yeah, I mean, like it's not a business to make money initially, right? It's like, hey, if this really does become a big thing, I own one of 30 of these. If it becomes a tenth of what the NBA is, I cash out for $500 million.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a tenth. I mean, most of these NBA teams are going for $5 billion, and like, yeah, it's just a scarcity thing, and a lot of it is just people who also have a lot of money and like pickle.
Yeah, it seems like there's no shortage of those people in pickleball. And I'm glad they exist because they're helping propel the sport, but there are a lot of things like, man, you are gambling money heavy. Not even just like pro league, but I feel like there's lots of things, like even like some paddle companies, like clearly someone's got a lot of money, and I'm like, I don't know. Paddles, you can make some money, but there's a lot of gambles. So, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a horrible place to put your money still, but I think the market is sort of like normalizing a little bit in pickleball. You're going to see facility closures. You're going to see paddle companies go out of business,
100%.
like all that stuff. It's going to come back to reality.
Yeah.
A little bit of, I think it'll be a pickleball market correction this year in paddle prices and just overall stuff.
I'm gonna say one more year at least before that happens.
I can see that. Yeah.
But here's the problem. Like, I think if someone like Selkirk, who's selling the boomstick at like $333, first of all, the boomstick is everywhere now. Like, I go to a 5-0 tournament. I mean, it's like just as popular as a Yola is now. Like, Selkirk is like clearly back in that market. So if people are buying them, Selkirk's not like, yeah, guys, let's make it cheaper.
Yeah, but that's a crazy thing. Like, I actually think through. So I crap on Selkirk pretty frequently, and so I said that they've never made a competitive paddle, and I kind of stand by that until the boomstick. I think the boomstick is their first like actually competitive at the top level paddle
Ever or can't be ever. The 002 when it came out was like
the 002
elite.
was. I never thought that was elite. I think it was
when it came out?
Was competitive. I think it was competitive.
Okay.
But that was their other good paddle, and before that, it was probably some of the soft, it does
But
whatever.
everything was like just kind of weird back then.
Yeah. And so like they obviously have like the marketing to be able to sell paddles that aren't the best paddles. And that now that they have something that's close to the top and the marketing, yeah, that's why you see the boomstick like seemingly everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it's just like very interesting from that standpoint because like I mean if people complain about the prices, but then you also see it everywhere. So you're like, is it actually a problem if you're like willing to pay it? Like it's one of those, if you don't pay this, then it will go down. They can't do that forever if you don't buy it. So I don't know, kind of interesting. But
so you thought the 002 was like elite?
what was better than it at the time?
I mean, I suppose it did hit.
It was like the hardest hitting paddle with like the most amount of spin, while the grit was fresh, obviously. But everything, like you were using a Franklin signature back then. Like
Was that the same time as the Franklin signature? I thought I mean, like there were like carbon paddles coming out, groovin paddles coming out. Electrum was still making somewhat decent paddles then.
Rock carbon was like just upcoming, but there wasn't a lot of them. Like carbon was really the only rock carbon, and like maybe like a groovin, but there wasn't a lot of them. Like Yola kind of popularized, made rock carbon a lot more
they
popular.
were kind of like coming in at that point.
Yeah,
fair. Okay, so I mean, I never thought that one was elite, but it was usable at the pro level for a couple of years.
002 you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm like, okay, you compare it to Franklin's signature, like the Onyxes that Lucy and Matt were using, the Vulcans that Jay was using, and like Tyler. It's like,
yeah, well, I mean, like those
all this
Vulcans
paddle
were
sucked.
bad.
Yeah. Like, just like how do people even compete with these things? So yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, no, they're definitely better spot now than they
Yeah,
were.
you're probably right. Because I think I remember I played Tyson McGuffin in like the semifinals of nationals when I was using. That was 2021. That was the tournament I got kicked out of. Fun fact.
You got kicked out of?
Kind of.
Okay.
So I told them ahead of time that I wouldn't be able to play on a Sunday. And apparently that went to nobody. And so I win, and I'm like in Championship Sunday. I'm like, sorry, I can't play. My wife was in Miss America that year.
Ah, sure.
And so they're like, you know what? We're also not going to let you play men's doubles. I'm like, guys, I'm not making the finals of men's doubles with Althoff. So they're like, yeah, but we're just not going to let you play. And so I got kind of kicked out of the tournament.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Anyway, zero regrets whatsoever on that. Very happy.
Yeah, that was the
I
right
went.
decision.
But that I played Franklin versus the 002 when Tyson was using that. But I feel like early 2022, I feel like everybody that had. I mean, that's when the first Yolas came out with Ben around March or and then
spring 2022.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So like maybe for that like window, it was the top of the top potentially.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we've gone long enough. I'm surprised we made it this far without killing each other. It's kind of a miracle.
Yeah, for next time, for the next 3-year pod.
I also thought your text was pretty good when you sent your like SWAT will be there in a half hour. I saw that like 2 hours later, and I thought you said I'll be there in a half hour, and I was like, dude, that was an hour and a half ago. I am not there. So
that's funny.
I was like,
I have Chris Olson's address. I will sell it to the highest bidder.
I hope you at least get a decent amount of money for it. Like at least hold out.
Yeah. What can I sell it for? I'll split the profits with you.
I think my wife would kill me, so I don't know that. Short of it being like life-changing money, I don't think it would do it.
No, okay, fair enough. All right, I won't do it. I just won't split the money.
Nah, you just pocket it all. There you go. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. This is a lot of fun.
Appreciate it.
We'll do this again in what is it, 2030?
2029. I feel like we did early 2022, maybe.
So that'd be 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right.
Didn't you used to do math for a living?
Yeah, why do you think I quit?
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you in the next one.